Good evening, everyone, and welcome out to the iRacing Virtual Cup Series. This is the playoffs. We're in the last race of the round of 12. So tonight is elimination night. We are going to go from 12 drivers down to 8 drivers here at the Roval. Great place to do this here at the Roval. This is going to test every single driver's skills, turning both left and right. Lots of braking, lots of slow-moving corners, a lot of different skill sets that they have to prove themselves on tonight. And so can't wait to get this thing started. We are going to go 75 laps. It's going to be a relatively quick race tonight because there's no cautions with the exception of the stages. So only corner cautions, and there's going to be a lot of room out there on the track. So definitely going to be a kind of a quicker race tonight, but definitely going to be trying for everybody. So let's take a look at the current playoff picture out here. So Justin Boyles, Oskar Jensen, Timothy Latham all have advanced already into the playoff round of 8. Zach York, Chad Genningsman, basically they're locked in for the most part. It would take a lot in order to knock them out of that spot. And then Dakota Jorgensen, Kendall LeVron, and then Benjamin D. They are not really... I mean, Dakota Jorgensen, Kendall LeVron, they're pretty well up there also. Benjamin D is really the only one that looks like he may be in trouble tonight if Greg Edney, Philip Loy, or Ted Pullen can pull off a really big race. Mark Kuda would basically have to win this race, and I actually don't see him out on the track right now, so he may not even be here tonight. So may or may not be some fireworks out there on the track tonight as far as playoff position is concerned, but definitely going to be a fun race regardless. Let's take a look at our drivers. So first up, we have Justin Boyles. He is the leader of the iVCS and also the leader in the standings right now. So he does have 2 wins on the season, 1 in the playoffs just 2 weeks ago, actually, at Las Vegas. So he has had 3 clean races. So this is going to be a key for him. So 3 clean races, and 2 of those clean races were wins. And so if he has a clean race, then everybody better look out because he may have the car to beat if that's the case. So during the season, he was ranked number 6 overall once we got into the points and everything. But once again, he is up here in first place right now. And he did qualify for the round of 8 already with a win at Las Vegas. And as I said before, he is the league creator and owner. So really great driver out there. Love seeing him out there on the track in that number 8 Budweiser car. Next up, Oskar Jensen in the 51. So this guy, he has been coming on really strong during the playoffs, and we're going to call him Mr. Playoffs because in the last 5 races in the playoffs, he's had 3 wins. He's led 14% of the laps all season long. So really, really consistent driver, incredible driver up at the front of the pack. So he was ranked number 2 during the regular season, and you'll see who was number 1 here in just a second. Qualified for the round of 8 with a win at Talladega. And so he does have 7 wins on the season, including the playoffs, and you can see those listed there. It's Auto Club, Michigan, Chicagoland, Dover, Richmond, Bristol, and Talladega. So a lot of good races there, but he has not won on a road course yet. And so we will have to see what comes out of that tonight. So I said we're going to look at number 1 in the rankings coming into the playoffs, and here he is, Timothy Latham in the number 5 car. And so he has actually led 22% of the laps all season long. So absolutely consistent, incredible driver. Tough to get to catch up to him once he gets out front. So he does have 7 wins throughout the season. None in the playoffs yet, though. And so, but 2 of those wins, if you take a look, 2 of those wins, Sonoma and Watkins Glen, both road courses. So could he make it 3 for 3 tonight? So he was top 5 in 64% of the races that he drove in. He was ranked number 1 during the regular season, and so he has already qualified for the round of 8 just on points. So that's how good he has been all season long. He is already in. He didn't even have to win to get in. Next up, Zach York in the 49 car for the Flying Arrows. And so Zach, he has led the second most laps in the entire league, 877 laps this season, which is absolutely insane. He's been pole position in 20% of his races, so he likes to start up front. Ranked number 3 during the regular season, 2 wins for him, both on short tracks, so Dover and Bristol. So a couple short track wins there, but we will have to see what happens as we get into tonight's race. So Chad Genningsman, for a little while there, I didn't know if Chad was going to make it into the race, but then I saw him out on track there at the last second. So Chad is 47 points above the cut line, like I said, so he is relatively safe right now. I'm going to call him two names, Mr. Clean and Mr. Consistency. So Mr. Clean, he has the fewest incident points out of all the playoff drivers, and so he just runs these nice clean races, and that's what makes his car stay really fast. So Mr. Consistency, he's in the top 10 in 65% of his races, so he is constantly up there in the top 10. He does have one win this season at Indianapolis, nothing yet on a road course, so we'll have to see how that shakes out for him. But during the season, he was ranked number 4, and currently right now on the scoreboard, he's ranked number 5. So always up front is Mr. Chad. Dakota Jorgensen in the number 24 car, new look tonight in that pink Hooters car. So he is 33 points above the cut line. He was ranked number 7 during the regular season, 2 pole positions, no wins this season, but he had a second place finish back in week 5 at Atlanta. So another one of those drivers, has a really good following out there in the chat room. A lot of people show up to watch him race, and he has put on a really good show the past few weeks. Let's see if he can do that again here at the Roval. Next up, Kendall LeBron. Now, Kendall was kind of a little bit of a surprise when he came into the playoffs, and he won in the first week of the playoffs. But right now, he is kind of floating down the points a little bit. So he's only 26 points above the cut line. Should be enough to get him in unless he just has a really bad race. But he was ranked number 8 during the regular season. He had 2 wins, so one of those wins was in the playoffs. Now, interesting stat for him. He only led 2 laps during the entire regular season, but in the playoffs, he has led 66 laps. So maybe we should call him Mr. Playoffs because this is where he seems to be shining. Benjamin D, another flying arrow there in the 97 car. Now, Benjamin is on the cut line right now, but he is 16 points above the next guy. So he's got a little bit of breathing room, but again, needs a good, clean race. If he can have a clean race tonight, I have a feeling that he will be just fine. He does have 1 win on the season. That was at Daytona, so a restrictor plate track. So that doesn't really transfer to what we're doing tonight, obviously. So he was ranked number 5 during the regular season. So all season long, nice and consistent, and top 5 in 40% of his races. So again, that consistency up at the front. If we can see him in the top 5 tonight, he will definitely 100% make it through to next week. Greg Edney in the number 30 car. So Greg is another one of those that he has not had a win yet this season. He had a second place finish back in week 24 back at Michigan, so had a good drive there. Ranked number 9 during the regular season, so he is kind of the underdog here, and right now he is just below the cut. So he's 16 points below that cut line, so he has a little bit of work to do tonight. One of the things I like about Greg is that he moves up, he moves forward. So he qualifies average about 16th, and then he moves up into 10th. And so there's a lot of guys out there that want to qualify as high as they possibly can. And of course, you always want to qualify as high as you possibly can, but this is one of those guys that he improves throughout the race. So don't hesitate to take a flyer out on Greg Edney here to possibly maybe sneak his way into the next round of the playoffs. Next up, Philip Loy. Now, Philip's got some work to do out here, so he is kind of far down. So he's 23 points below the cut line, but if he takes home a couple of these stage points and he has a really good finish, there's a very small possibility that he could get in, but there is a possibility. So there's always a chance there. So he was ranked number 10 during the regular season, 76 laps led on the season. So, but he was in the top 10 44% of the time. So 4/10 of the time he was up there in that top 10. So he needs to try to be up there or even further up tonight in order to make his way into the playoffs. So his best finish on the season, he finished 3rd twice. So both at Kansas and at Daytona. Next up, we got the fan favorite. This is Ted Pullen. And so already somebody out in the chat room, Josh Medlock, he is already pulling for Ted Pullen there. And then, of course, he's also pulling for Kendall LeBron as well in the number 28. But so Ted, he is 37 points below the cut line, had a disastrous last race that may have ended his playoff chances. We will just have to find that out. During the regular season, he was ranked number 12th. Best fans in the chat, I'm telling you. So the Ted Pullen fans fans are always out there. We love hearing from them. We love watching what they say. We love rooting for Ted Pullen. So he is a very patient driver. And again, just kind of like Philip Loy or Greg Edney and Philip Loy. So when they kind of move forward throughout the race, so he averages a 15th place start. He averages a 12th place finish. He's one of those that he's patient and he lets other people make mistakes. And then he takes advantage of those mistakes. So a very, very good driver. And that's one of those qualities that you love to see. So his best finish was third back in week 20 at Indianapolis. And finally, we have Mark Kuda. I actually don't see him out on the track right now, but we will still introduce him in the number 77 car. He was ranked number 14 during the regular season. And I called this guy the survivor because he was in the last 4 into the playoffs and then the last one into the round of 12. And so we were kind of hoping to see some fireworks tonight. Doesn't look like he's going to be on the track. But what a great season he had. He was in the top 10 23% of the time, and his best finish was 6th at Darlington. So great driver in his own right. We're sad to see that he is not here with us tonight. However, we look forward to seeing him in future weeks. All right, so I think we've got somebody up here in the booth here. So Brandon Browning, Brandon Superman Brand, I think I see him out there.
What's going on, buddy?
How's it going, dude?
It's going pretty good, man. Excited for the Roval. I have a little bit of insight on someone that I know is absolutely filthy at the Roval. A little underprepared in their setup, but nonetheless, they're always a top-name player. But I also know, Sean, I know about 12 other guys, or 11 other guys, I should say, that want to dethrone that person as the top dog this year. I've got a lot to talk about tonight. I've got my newfound a fan that I've became, Oskar Jensen. Became a big fan of Oskar Jensen, and I'll get more into that story, Sean, for you in just a little while. But it's been a crazy couple days as far as I'm concerned with the iVCS, buddy.
Man, it has been a fun couple of days. And I know a lot of people were looking forward to this race. A lot of people are looking forward to the next round of the playoffs. Never know what's going to happen, especially when we cut it down to the top 8.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, from here, I don't want to use the verbiage that, the bad drivers will be out, because that's not the case. It's just we're to the point, Sean, where we started with 16 guys, and you could put them in order from 1 to 16, and obviously not saying that any of them are bad, but as you get down to the bottom, they're less successful in the iVCS than the guys at the top. Once we eliminate down to 8, Sean, it becomes the top of the top. We've taken the top half of the guys then, and we've moved them on. There's, and I guess the way to say it, when in the round of 16, you got a little room for error, Sean. You kind of make some mistakes. In the round of 12, you can have a few, but you can't have a lot. But once we make it down to 8, when there's only 8 drivers left, from that point to the final lap of Phoenix, you cannot have a single mistake, and that's where we start tonight.
Well, man, it is going to be a great race, a quick race. I was telling the fans a little bit earlier, it is going to be a fast race tonight because 75 laps. There's only going to be 2 cautions all night long, and that is going to be the cautions for the stages. And so this is going to go a lot quicker than a lot of people think it will.
Yeah, and one thing's for certain, when you start talking about things flying by, you start talking about your playoff opportunity flying by. Those 4 guys you see on your screen right now in red, I know you talked about, I think you said Mark Kuda wasn't going to be here tonight. So
correct.
Mathematically, even had he been here tonight, Mark Kuda was mathematically almost eliminated. 66 points is the most that you can gain. Obviously, Benjamin D at the bottom of the cut line, going to gain at least 1 point by just starting the race, no matter what happens. That mathematically put Mark Kuda in a must-win situation. I'm not sure if Mark Kuda had some other things maybe going on, Sean, where he couldn't make it. But for these other guys here, Ted Pullen, Philip Loy, Greg Edney, while this race flies by, so is there an opportunity to stay in these playoffs. I mean, if your name's in white, you're okay. You're not really safe, but you're kind of there. If your name's in blue, you're not worried about the Roval. You're out here having a good time, turning left, turning right, doing your thing. But those guys down there in red, Greg Edney, Philip Loy, Ted Pullen, the guys that we know are here tonight, have to have a big night, because if they don't, that's it. It's done. And we'll catch them next year, Sean.
Well, look at what our grid looks like right now, and the guy that is on the cut line, Benjamin D, is out front with the pole position, so over Timothy Latham in second place.
Well, I really look at third place right there, Sean. I look at Philip Loy right now. That's one of the guys that we saw in red, and what a better way to start than third. Now, it's easy to start there, but you got to finish there. I think tonight might be Philip Loy's night to put a +2 next to that 3 and come out of here first, but we do also have Dakota Jorgensen starting in fourth.
Chad Genningsman, he showed up almost late, but he is out there in fifth. Kendall LeBron, who was the surprise of the first round, is up there in sixth. Can he surprise us again?
Yeah, and he very well may. I've got a lot of pull toward Justin Boyles here. He's impressed me over the last few months as a road course racer. He's starting in the 7th spot, lucky number 7 for the 8 car. Yeah, okay. I thought my numbers were wrong there. Zach York going to be starting in 8th. Zach York kind of had a subpar playoff so far, Sean. So looking to rebound and start here at the Charlotte Roval.
Greg Edney, who is just below the cut line, so he's 16 points out right now. He is back in 9th, so he's got some work to do. PJ Engelken's not in the playoffs, but it's definitely still a great driver. He is up there in 10th.
And in 11th place, the Tier 2 playoffs, Richard Springer, PJ Engelken's. You talked about PJ, I talked about Richard. Richard Springer, PJ Engelken's running for that Tier 2 playoffs. They are 1 and 2 in the Tier 2 playoffs. Kind of like a little bit of side bet for the guys that didn't make the playoffs, and those are the top runners. Richard Springer in 11th place. And I said it before, I'm going to say it again. My newfound top 2, if not my favorite, iVCS driver, Oskar Jensen, starting in 12th.
Well, let's get out there onto the track. So they are going to take this pace lap around. They're going to cut the chicanes out, so that'll cut a couple of seconds off. Nothing too major. This is a very long course. Brandon, you've driven this course quite a bit. What is the key here?
Sorry, I didn't realize I had my mic muted there. I've always been told, Sean, that slow is fast when it comes to road course racing, especially in the stock cars. So the biggest thing that you could do, go slow. Take your time. Don't get in a hurry. Don't get in any trouble. Make sure you're hitting your marks. Smooth entry, smooth exit to every one of these corners. And the biggest key to winning here at the Charlotte Roval, be there on lap 75. Because if you crash out, you get off track, anything could happen and it could go away real quick.
Yes, it can. So going to be a great night tonight. Cannot wait to get this thing started. Brandon, so who is your pick?
Every single part of me wants to say the guy in the back. We've seen him come from the back to the front, 2 laps down, all the way through. And it's Oskar Jensen. But I've got to go with the guy starting in second. He's 2 for 2 on road courses this year. I'm going Timothy Latham here.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to go up against him, but I got to tell you, I think somebody's going to dethrone him tonight, and I'm going to go with the number 24, Dakota Jorgensen.
Dakota definitely does need a big race here in the playoffs to really spark his momentum. I'm telling you, I'll get more into the story as we run here in just a little while, but Oskar Jensen, again, man, I have a feeling. I saw in the Discord, he said, hey, you know, it's not there for me. It's not, the setup's not there. I don't think I'll win, but, you know, hey, thanks for the support, this and that. But I think Oskar pulls something together. We saw last week he went from 2 laps down, Sean, and won the thing. So you can never count out Oskar Jensen unless he doesn't show up. Unfortunately for the guys ahead of him, Oscar's here tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be a great race. I know Timothy Latham has been looking forward to this all week. Once again, you said he's 2 for 2 on the road courses so far this season. Let's see if he can make it 3 for 3. So we are getting close to time. Elimination race tonight, Brandon. The tension is high.
Yeah, and it's about to get a lot higher, Sean, because the pace car is gone. They're cutting the chicane, and it's up to Benjamin D. He's waiting and gone. He takes us left and right racing.
And let's see if everybody can make it through this first corner safely. It is a tough corner. You have to slow down a ton, and then you're going uphill. And what a lot of people don't know, Brandon, is when you drive uphill in these cars, you lose grip.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing. You know, when you go to get back on the throttle and it's not there, Sean, that's when it becomes scary because, I mean, anything at that point can happen. If you go to get on the throttle and the rear tires are spinning, the front tires are spinning, you don't know what you have left. You don't know how much control you still have over the cars. And that's where, you know, it becomes interesting because if you spin out, you're a long way behind.
You know, something that makes this league incredible is the fact that this is so close to NASCAR experience. You know, a lot of times in iRacing leagues, there are fast repairs. So you slide off the track, you hit a wall, no problem. Just go into the pits, get a brand new car. Not in this league. So one mistake is going to almost take you out of the race tonight.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, it's tough for me to even say that. I mean, it depends on the mistake, realistically, because we saw back at Sonoma, all the way back when we were there, Timothy Latham leading the race, pretty much had dominated. Oh, we've got Richard Springer around on the racetrack.
So just like that, just a quick little mistake is all it takes. And looks like Benjamin D is putting some pressure on here.
Yeah, that's what I was getting back to. You know, when we go back to Sonoma, Timothy Latham had a little bit of issues with, you know, some other drivers, spun out, drove his way back to the front, and the two guys that were there waiting on him when he got back to the front of that pack was the 8 car of Justin Boyles, and none other than the guy trying to run him down right now, Benjamin D, in second place. So Benjamin D knows how to get around these road courses. He's been hot on the heels of Timothy just about, it seems like, every time we talk about Timothy at a road course. Benjamin D is also having a solid night. Well,
Timothy is like the Iceman. It is tough to just sit there and watch him because he's never going to make a mistake.
Yeah, and that's just one thing that he doesn't do. And I honestly, I had the coolest moment of my life last night, Sean. And as our battle settles down a little bit, I'll transition into that. I run the Truck Series race. Now, it used to be the Qualifier Series race. Typically, we've had a few Qualifier guys run up here in this series, but we run the Truck Series, and Timothy Latham's there, Oskar Jensen's there, and a couple of the other guys here. David Duke is there, PJ runs with us, Ted Pullen, a couple of guys. It's not broadcast. We just run. We have fun in the Truck Series. We went to Daytona last night, Sean, and I was leading the race. I kind of come up off the yellow line at Daytona. Timothy Latham turned me through the grass. I was 10 seconds back, and this is where my newfound fanship, I guess, of Oskar Jensen comes into play, because from 10 seconds back, I was on an island by myself. Oskar Jensen slowed all the way down, trusted me to help him get back up there. We passed the pack, and then it ultimately, to fast forward, after Oskar pushed me back into having a shot, it come down to a green-white checkered where Oskar stuck on my back bumper for my first iVCS Truck Series win. Greatest moment of my iRacing career. And Oskar has won me over as a fan because of that, Sean.
That is absolutely the coolest thing. Now, unfortunately, here, there's not a lot of drafting going on. so that kind of magic didn't really go. Oh, and Timothy takes that corner a little bit hard. Benjamin D makes the pass.
I think there for a minute, I think Benjamin was kind of pushing Tim a little bit more, like a little harder than Tim really wanted to run. And it ultimately caused Tim to get into that chicane there, get on a turtle shell, kind of jump the corner a little bit, get out of the way, and of course Benjamin, as he's been doing here in the road courses, you continue to see it here. He ran just a smooth, solid line, and he got on by, and he gets a little close to that outside wall there, but I tell you, these boys are going to have to be on top of their game if they want. Oh, he's sliding through that one, Sean, but they're going to have to be on top of their game if they're going to want to keep up with Benjamin D.
Keep in mind, there are stages in this race, so the first stage ends on lap 17, and so not very long of a stage, but enough time that people have chances to make mistakes and catch up from those mistakes.
Yeah, and the one thing that I want to point out, I know it's early on here at the Roval, and when you start talking, only about 17 turns if you count each chicane as a turn, each part of the chicane. But, I'm not sure what 17 and 17 are, but obviously a lot of turns still left to be made here. But if they start allowing Benjamin D to get that ball rolling momentum-wise headed into the next round, Timothy Latham solid at the next 3 tracks, but, you start worrying about Benjamin D headed into Phoenix. Obviously, Timothy back in the early spring race at Phoenix, he led on every single lap, start to finish. But it's a different tire model. The cars drive differently. And that man you see right there on your screen, Benjamin D, as much as anyone else that you see in here, Sean, has been putting in the work. He's tired of losing to the 5 car. He's tired of losing to the 51 car, who have combined for 14 wins this season. And that man right there is putting in the work, and you're starting to see him equalize. And if he continues that work, it's curtains for the rest of these boys, because he's been on a hot streak ever since we left Daytona.
And it looks like Zach York has crashed into a wall. Let's see if we can go back and figure out what happened as these cars try to get back around him. Let's go ahead and go to our first wreck replay.
See what exactly we had going on. Maybe just come out. Oh, you see the car behind him. I think
Yeah, Greg Eddy went down to the grass, and then
I think they've both kind of done the same thing.
There you go. There, he just, right up that hill, he loses grip, and he tags the wall. That is going to hurt his engine badly, not good. So we will find out what that does to him a little bit later on. But now he is slotted back in the 8th position. So Zach York, he's already pretty well locked in for the most part, but still just something that you don't want to see out there.
Yeah, he just needs to survive at this point and obviously get as much damage as possible. Sean, real quick, I want to turn to the chat. I see Motor City Racing out there said that was a good race to watch. LOL, guys came flying by the main pack like they were standing still, obviously referencing what I was able to do with Oskar. Motor City Racing. Who are you, brother? I'm not familiar with the name. I had a couple drivers in mind, but I could be wrong. Maybe Alex Hendry, I'm not sure. But we did. We had it rocking and rolling when we caught that main pack. So let us know who you are. Josh Medlock, as far as I know, Mike Pullen is in the ear of Ted most of these races here recently. He's been solely on the crew chief grind, you know, the spotter, letting Ted know what's going on. Maybe that's where Mike is. Maybe Motor City Racing is Mike. I'm not sure. We'll find out maybe here in just a moment.
Looks like Oskar Jensen's putting on some pressure on Justin Boyles. He wants that 4th position so he can start moving up even further, just in case some of these guys make mistakes, or when we get to lap 17 and get that competition caution.
I'm telling you, I know I went with Timothy, but every part of me is pulling for that 51. Oh,
there goes Boyles!
He put the pressure on Boyles. Boyles did the same thing Timothy did, just a little bit too hard into that chicane. And you see how it paid off, Sean. He just pushed the car over the edge, trying to stay ahead of the 51. But as I was saying, every part of me wants to see that 51 burning it down here at the end of this thing. But I know there are a lot of guys, you know, that need this win more than Oskar, more than Benjamin even. You know, you look back to 3rd, and I missed it that time by, but I think Philip Lloyd's still running in the 3rd place. He needs to win as bad as anyone. He needs the opportunity, and unfortunately for him, that 51's coming quick.
Well, you know, something that we've seen a lot at the Roval before is somebody gets a huge lead, and then they catch up to lap traffic, and then something happens with lap traffic that causes them to lose not only the lead, but the race itself. And so that's one thing that Benjamin D and Timothy Latham are going to have to really be cautious for as they're starting to get into lap traffic.
Yeah, and that's for sure. I saw a little bit of smoke there ahead of the 97.
That's Jordan Sailors that he's passing up.
So moments like that gotta be scary if you're leading this thing. If you just have everything going right, as Benjamin D does, it's scary to have those moments. Back to the chat. Go get him, Oskar, from Motor City Racing. That's Brandon Thomas, was up there, said go 51 earlier. He's friends with Alex Hendry and Oskar Jensen. If you got to watch that race, buddy, I'm going to tell you, last night was the most fun I've had on iRacing, and I've been on the sim since about February. I couldn't thank Oskar enough. I probably drove him crazy with the messages I sent him because I was just so pumped up. He earned my respect in a lot of ways, but I see some damage there to the back of the 9 car, so maybe a little bit of bumping going on here.
Yeah, but I mean, this early in the race, you do not want to see that damage. I mean, you don't want to see it later in the race either, of course, but right now, the cleanest driver on the track, Benjamin D, way out front. He is 8 seconds ahead of everybody already.
Yeah, and unfortunately for these guys, I don't think it's going to get any lesser at this moment. I think he continues, and honestly, rightfully not. I mean, you don't really have to push it. In about 10 laps, a little less than 10 laps, we're going to see a stage caution. So, you know, just feeling out the car right now with Benjamin D and doing it in the one spot that you want to be, the number 1 position.
Jordan Saylor's in the pits right now, but you can see from the track map where everybody is. They are all coming around, but that number 97 on the left side of your track map there, that is your leader. The number 5 in green, that is Timothy Latham. So a nice, good lead right now for Benjamin D. And we're getting some racing a little bit further back, so let's take a look at that. We got 3 guys all vying for the same spot here.
Yeah, and honestly, the 4th, 5th, well, PJ is a lap down, but the 5th car was PJ. The 4th car just behind them, Greg Edney in the 30. I'm not sure if that's for position there or not.
Yes, it is. It is.
So he's a little ways back, but
oh no! LeBron spins.
That's not going to be good.
And then Boyles spins.
Zach York still setting off the track there.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, and continued issues, you know, and unfortunate abilities for, not unfortunate abilities, unfortunate timing for all of those cars to be together in the chicane like they were. A little bit of a pile up there. We'll see it with our rec replay. We'll see what happened. I believe the 28 slowing down a little before the 49. 49 knows he can get in there a little deeper. Boyles, oh, yep. Just looks like Kendall LeBron maybe got on the brakes a little harder than the 49 anticipated and just got a little bit together.
Man, already racing hard out there. A little early for my liking, but, man, I'm not the one out there driving.
Yeah, and I know I'd say all the guys involved in that, even probably Zach York, who kind of caused the contact, likely saying, man, maybe that was just a little too early.
So we can see Justin Boyles trying to track down Greg Edney. Now, Boyles has already been involved in a couple of things. Oh, and Edney gets way outside. And so Boyles will take advantage.
Doesn't look like that 8 car was hurt too bad. Maybe a little bit of front-end damage there. It's relatively clean, but you see Boyles there just able to drive into this corner so deep, get the car woed up, get it turning right, then back to the left, and just so smooth with, you know, his ability to really turn the car. Greg Edney, though, putting the pressure on into the heartburn turn. Kind of looking inside. Boyles going to carry the momentum on the outside, but here comes Zach York yet again, poking that nose through, and that number 49 Mustang. He just wants to get something going right here. He's found a little bit of trouble early here at the Roval.
And we realize that this is only for 6th position, but this is the closest race on the track right now by far. So up front, Benjamin D has an 11-second lead on Timothy Latham.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, Benjamin D right now, he's just cruising in that number 97 machine. He ain't worried about nothing but the stage break, but the stage points, the stage win. And it's all coming soon if Timothy doesn't settle down and get off and running after these guys.
And we'll see how many of these guys that Benjamin D can catch, because, again, only 2 cautions in the entire race. And so you got to think that the more people he puts a lap down, the less likely they are to have any shot at winning this thing.
Yeah, and that's where it becomes an issue, because he's already lapped up right now to 11th. As you see, Richard Springer spun around there. That was the 11th place car behind Benjamin D there that he had lapped, and I'm not really sure. Technical difficulties for the 21 of Richard Springer there, but up to 11th place. That means that only 9 more guys are able to stay on the lead lap. Kendall LeBron about 56 seconds behind, and the next guy on the sights for Benjamin D. But I tell you, one car that's kind of faded a little bit is that 2nd place car. You know, 10 seconds behind, but starting to lose a little bit of the gap he had back to 3rd of Philip Lloyd, 4th Oskar Jensen. The guys behind him, looks like the handling there, especially in the right-hand turns, not really there for the 5 car right now. But if there's one thing we know, Sean, it's Timothy Latham's ability to adjust that race car in race. And honestly, I thought there for a moment it looked like he had a little bit of scuffs on the right rear, but not sure if he maybe tank slapped the wall with that back end, or maybe it just looked at, okay, it's just the fireworks.
It's just fireworks. It's just fireworks.
I'm sure if he finds his way back to the lead, there will be fireworks all over the place for this one, because he wants more than anyone the 3 for 3 at the road course. And, of course, Benjamin D trying to steal it away. The other guys in the race don't want him to go 3 for 3. They don't want Timothy to have those bragging rights. But, man, He's just been so strong all season long. A little bit of a subpar playoffs, but you know, even for Timothy, subpar is still better than my best, Sean.
Well, just looking out on the track right now to see who is next for Benjamin D to catch up to, Kendall Lavron is 46 seconds behind right now. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. 60 seconds behind, so he is a full minute behind. So you can see there on your screen the number 28 in blue going through the middle of your screen there, and then you can see the 97 in blue on the left side. So he's got a good ways to go. Uh-oh, we got a wreck right in front. So PJ Engelkens, and then he decides to go ahead and put it into the pits. So not sure if PJ is done for the night or what. I do see Ted Pullen, I believe he has pulled his car off the track. Jordan Sailors also pulled his car off the track. So rough race, man.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, that makes it a little bit tougher for the guy running third right now, Philip Lloyd. It makes it a little bit harder for him to try to capitalize without the win, because the less cars and less cars that continue to run here obviously puts him in more of a, hey, I've got to win situation than ever before. So, you know, he's starting to get down to crunch time, but a little bit of a smart strategy, maybe some, you know, positional strategy, you know, when the stage cautions come. Could put Philip Lloyd back up there. He's honestly only about 3 seconds now from taking away second place. So I don't want to wish bad on Benjamin D, but if something happens, that 0-1 right there is the car to watch. And the problem with that, Sean, prior to stage points taking a play into it, if the 0-1 was to win, first car out at the moment would be Benjamin D.
That is a scary, scary thought considering how far ahead Benjamin D is right now. He is up front 16 and a half seconds ahead of Timothy Latham. We have never seen anybody do that to Timothy Latham before.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. Even on his off nights, you know, I think back to Darlington where he just missed it a little bit on the set. You know, he wasn't competitive. Even for most of the race, he still ran in the third position. So, you know, like I said, a down night for Timothy Latham is still a solid night for a lot of drivers. Kind of in no man's territory right now is Timothy Latham being that far behind someone.
You know, and I just thought of something, Brandon. So this is such a huge track that when we get to a full course caution and these cars come into the pits, they're going to have a little bit of extra time to get some of this damage repaired because it's just such a huge track.
Yeah, and that's, you know, the other thing to look at, Sean, is if by chance, you know, with the lead that Benjamin D's got, he doesn't really, you know, you look back, you start talking about Dakota Jorgensen, Greg Edney, Justin Boyles, he doesn't really have to worry about them beating him off pit road, because by the time they gain back the 40, you know, 35, 40 seconds they're behind, Benjamin D's already in the pits. You know, they've still got to drive back to him, and maybe they'll be able to, but just as you said, if you're Zach York, you want to push the car as hard as you can push it, get as close as you can, so that when you do pit, you have that time on the pace car. You know, you have the, I'm sure, close to 3 minutes it's going to take to get around this place, because obviously there's a lot of damage to that 49 machine, especially on the front end, on the rear end, the right rear. It's going to take a little bit to get that car back into decent running shape. Justin Boyles, we saw he had a little bit of damage from that 3-car incident, but, you know, as you said, Sean, a lot of time to get them fixed when you start bringing out caution.
Well, just looking back a little bit, so Kendall Lavron, I'm showing on my scoring that there was a little bit of an incident with him. I don't see any damage there, so not sure if my scoring is messing up there or what, but a little bit of damage maybe that I just can't see. I'm not sure. Oh no, that was Benjamin D into the wall.
Did Benjamin D grab the wall there?
I think he tapped it.
Missed a bit of it. Maybe trying to stay clear of that 93 car, so hopefully not a lot of damage, but anything can happen here. The slightest amount of damage can handle the way the front end turns, the way this car gets down into the corners, especially, actually, Sean, I see it there on the right front. You can see it crinkled up as well.
Yep, there it is.
There. So obviously when things are going right, they can still go wrong.
Such a fun racetrack to watch. It's not a fun racetrack to drive at all because it's just so difficult, but a very fun race to watch as you see some of the best drivers that we've seen on iRacing not really having perfect races.
Yeah, and that's for sure. You know, I mean, mistakes can be made. The good news for Benjamin D, for Timothy Latham, the guys that enjoy these road courses, next season we're going to 6 of them. We added a few, or NASCAR added a few rather, but we're going to go to 6 road courses. That means 6 opportunities to see something like Benjamin D's doing here and now, and that's where it starts to get scary, Sean.
Well, Timothy Latham is 20 seconds behind Benjamin D. We're coming up on lap 17 now, and then Timothy's going to be right back on the tail of Benjamin D. So Benjamin can go as fast as he wants to here. He can push as hard as he wants to, but it's not going to do any good here in 2 laps.
Yeah, and honestly, if I'm Benjamin D, got a 20-second lead, 17 corners, you give up a second, a turn here and still come out with a 3-second lead. So I'd just be coasting in this thing, taking it easy, keeping that car out of the wall. You don't want to further the damage. There you see from that shot, you can see the gap between the hood and the fender. So obviously a little bit of damage where, to my knowledge, the cars running 2, 3, 4 do not have any. And, we're going to tighten them back up. We're going to get a new set of tires, so a new set of handling. Anything can and will happen. If I'm Justin Boyles, though, you see it there in our mole hole shot. He better run that car for what it's worth and stay on the lead lap. Or if by chance he gets, lapped here, better hope they don't get the Greg Edney and Zach Yard, who are battling for position.
Well, let's go back and check out Benjamin D. So he is catching up really, really quickly to Justin Boyles. Let's see if he can put him a lap down, and then right in front of Justin, a couple seconds ahead, is Kendall LeVron. So any mistakes here by those two, and that could be the end of their race, because it's going to be tough to catch up from it.
Yeah, and you're in a spot now. Well, I guess you could play the strategy here for all of the cars that are lapped down, Sean, that they're already lapped down. You can play the game where you take the wave around as long as you have fuel. Richard Springer, BJ, because these guys that are behind, well, Richard Springer, the only one still 1 lap down, but he can play the game where he takes a wave around. And the reason he can take a wave around is this track is so big. First lap around after he takes the wave around and we go green, he can then pit. Puts him a little behind, but nonetheless back on the lead lap. Oh, Benjamin D squealing it into the final couple of corners there, and that should bring out stage 1 caution. I don't know if they'll require everyone still. I know the rule is everyone passes the start-finish line, but Benjamin's going to pass it again by the time the last lead lap car passes, which is Justin Boyles. So Benjamin finishing lap 17 as Boyles was just taking lap 17 there. So let's see. I think Benjamin's going to stay right with Boyles there.
Yeah, Justin better get on his horse.
I just heard Justin Boyles say, hold your position here, which means the stage 1 caution is about to come out. We're about to see it momentarily, I'm sure. Maybe Boyles knows he's the final car. There it is. So, stage 1, winner, Benjamin D, the 97 Flying Arrows machine.
And that is absolutely what he needed. If we go back and take a look at the current playoff picture, this was the playoff picture before this race began. You can see Benjamin D right there on the cut line. He is going to get 10 points for that stage win. That is definitely going to vault him up a little bit further, getting away from Greg Edney, Philip Loy, getting away from that cut line. So certainly going to help him out.
There will now be, just in stage points, a 2-point difference between he and Kendall LeGrand. Benjamin D gains 10 from that, putting him at positive 26. Of course, Greg Edney, also he had about 4 there. So Greg Edney had 4. So I guess thinking in mathematical terms, he's positive 22 to Greg Edney right now. Kendall LeVron now is only positive 26 still yet. So a little bit of a gap there between them, and I think my math is correct. 16. 4 off of that, 24 and 12. Yeah, so it's actually going to be 12 and 22. I'm not sure. It's closer than it was. I confused myself trying to correct myself.
Well, the pace car is out there, but Benjamin D has to come all the way around to catch it. And so we're going to get a couple more pace laps here than what we originally bargained for. And so once we get back started again, it will likely be about lap 22 possibly to when we get back started. Everybody has to get their pit stops in. So got a nice little bit of time here. And so, Brandon, I mean, I know, again, you've raced this course a lot more than I have. What is your key to this course?
Just keeping it on the track. I know it seems silly to say. Keeping it on the track is the most important thing you can do here. You know, you've got to be smooth. You've got to get through each and every one of these corners without doing, you know, we saw Boyles do it. We saw Zach York do it. When you go into a corner, I'm going to pause on that, Sean. Let's take a look at the third-place car real quick. Or the fourth-place car, I'm sorry. I'll get back to that in a moment. Something interesting. Fourth car there. I'm not sure you can see it a little bit from the shot there. Sean, he's missing a few car parts.
Oh, my goodness. Oskar Jensen with a lot of damage. And I'm trying to look back, and the only thing I could possibly see is right towards the end of that stage. Let's see if maybe, just maybe, this is the wreck replay we're looking for.
It's going to be the heartburn turn.
And so he cut the chicane because it is a yellow flag. But then coming into that first turn, he just loses it, gets up into that wall. And so, huge hit there under caution. That is certainly going to hurt his chances because it takes a long time to fix that damage.
Yeah, and honestly, even when you do with a hard front-end impact like that, Sean, it's tough to repair. If you're down on power, it's going to affect you on the ends where you get on the straightaway. You know, when you come off onto the backstretch into turn, I think it's, turn 1. You know, from there to the start-finish line, it's just going to be awful.
And looking out there on the track right now, Justin Boyles, who pitted on lap 14, is what I'm showing. So he is out there on the track. He's up in second. And then Chad Genningsman, who has not pitted yet, is currently slotted in the first position. So we might see Chad jump in here. He might have just waited a little bit too long to get into the pits. But right now, Benjamin D., who has led most of this race, is up in third position.
What I fully expect to be happening here, and I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again. Pit strategy. I know for Chad, maybe he's going to pit because he does have a little bit of rear end damage. But, you know, moving back, Justin Boyles maybe deciding lap 17. And did Boyles make a pit stop there? Did he actually come down, or is he just... he stayed out completely?
I'm showing that he pitted back on lap 14, though I don't recall that.
Yeah, and I don't remember seeing him on 14 come in, especially staying as close, but that could be what ultimately led to him being so far behind. It could have been him, you know, pitting on lap 14. I expect Justin here to not pit. I expect him to run this out, kind of flop the strategy around on him, and plan for the end. I mean, I know there are stage breaks, there's stage cautions, but if you plan it out where you can avoid one pit stop that the other guys have to make, obviously it gives you a shot. Back out to the chat, Sean. Our chat went a little bit crazy. Marianne Cornell, Dana Marie Chambers have joined us. The Ted Pullen fans are here. They've tuned in, and they're live with us. Luis Angel Lopez said, "Who wrecks under caution? LOL." I will tell you, Luis, the league that, you know, Sean and I also broadcast Mid-South Madness. I was present in a race car for their Roval race, and they said, hey, you know, under caution, we're just going to blow through the chicanes, much like we're seeing here. I chose not to do that. I took the chicane anyways, and a lot of people thought, you know, I was just disobeying the rules, so to speak. I wasn't getting that speed going into turn 1 that we saw Oskar carry into there. It's so hard to get the car slowed down when you take the chicane, when you're braking set for that, but even more so when you cut the chicane there, as the 9 car does make his pit stop. Boyle's going to hang out front for the moment. But MDR series, it takes a lot of talent to do that. So obviously, speaking back, if there's anybody here with the talent, it's, some of these guys we've seen up front, every one of them have more talent than I do. Mistakes still happen. They're still human. They got into turn one a little bit hot there, did Oskar Jensen. And a little bit of damage caused, but hey, nonetheless, he's in the next round, and that's, pretty much what you can ask for here at this point, Sean.
And right now, Oskar Jensen in the pits trying to get as much damage repaired as possible. Again, this is a long track, and so he's going to have a little bit of an opportunity there. He will already be a lap down, but he might save himself from going 2 laps down. Just depends on how much required damage it has to be repaired there. So Justin Boyles leading us around, and this is something that he was looking for. Justin's one of those guys that, man, if he gets up front, it's hard to pass him, especially here at the Roval.
Yeah, and I'm just listening. Maybe a little bit under the weather as the driver of that 8 car. I heard him in, driver chat just a moment ago. Doesn't sound like he feels too well. A little bit of a stuffy nose, so wish him the best if he is feeling a little rough. Hopefully, it's nothing major, but not feeling too well is the driver of that 8 car, I would imagine.
Well, I know that, a lot of these guys, or all of these guys have regular jobs. Unfortunately, iRacing doesn't pay enough to be a full-time position just yet. But Justin, I know, has been working tons of late hours lately. So we hope that he is doing well. Probably just wore himself out. But out there on the track, man, he is holding his own. Of course, he's, restarting in first with that pit strategy of pitting on lap 14. Let's see if he can hang on to it. So let's see who else is out there on the track. So Zach York, who we saw have some damage a little bit earlier, so he is going to be slotted back in the 8th position, restarting back there. But Benjamin D, who's led most of this race, is up in 2nd, which is exactly where, actually, take that back, he started in 3rd position in this race. So here we go.
Benjamin D was our pole sitter for this race.
Oh, you're correct. I apologize. Yeah.
I think it went quite literally that run. The top 3 stayed the same. I know Timothy Latham jumped out to an early lead, but it went Benjamin, Timothy, Phillip for our top 3. And I'm not sure, maybe Boyles was the 4th place car. I can't remember.
Well, we are coming around into the last chicane, but they are going to skip that one. And Boyles is going to get us started. And here we go for stage number 2. Again, a very short stage. We're going to lap 34. We're already on lap 22. So only 12 solid laps here. Let's see if Boyles can hang on to this lead. But Timothy Latham pushing really hard to get back up front.
Yeah, and that's one thing you can count on here. Timothy knows, had to give a little bit of courtesy braking for the teammate there. Going to nonetheless peek inside, but look at that car poking his nose through for 2nd place. Phillip Loy is come alive, and he wants to run away from that 97 car who's fallen back to 4th early in this run. So hopefully not damage related to that number 97 falling back to 4th. But Timothy Latham, now our leader, he better get on the throttle hard, because there's one thing that I'm certain of. It's that Phillip Loy does want the stage win, arguably worse than Timothy does. He wants to be able to say, hey, I beat these guys, but there's a wad into the first chicane. They're side by side. They're going to spread out a little bit out of the chicane. Nothing changed in the front four. Timothy Latham, Boyles, and Benjamin D. Front four right now, but there's a car. I couldn't catch the gist of who it was. Putting pressure on Benjamin D for 4th, so not really.
That's Kittle LeBron.
LeBron, so not really the start to stage 2, Sean, that Benjamin D was looking for.
Not really the start to stage 2 that I think anybody was looking for except for Latham, but he is out front, but not by enough. So he is not pulling away just yet. Looks like we may have a crash out there. That is Chad Genningsman in the wall.
Very much in the wall, kind of hard there. Not sure what exact corner that was for Chad, but he pitted late, had a little bit of rear end damage, and man, Timothy got so close to that out there inside wall there on that corner. Really driving this car for what it's worth. Actually, honestly, Sean, a much more aggressive Timothy Latham here in this stage. You see him taking those corners a little bit harder than he took in stage one, and rightfully so. The race is starting to come together and shorten itself, so to speak, as we knock laps off here left and right. Boyles has faded to 4th. Dakota Jorgensen challenging for 5th. Going to make the pass from Kendall LeBron for the moment. Zach York trying to do the same. So bad couple corners. Kendall LeBron's going to lose him 2. Justin Boyles lost 2, and there is your race for the lead as it stands. Coming to start lap number 24, and Benjamin D starting to pick up the pressure. All over the back of Philip Loy in the 0-1. He wants second, he wants first, and there's 2 drivers standing in his way of having the reins back for the race that has been wild. The Roval Roundup 170, closing in a third of the way done, Sean. Any change in your predictions on what might happen?
You know, I chose Dakota Jorgensen. Right now, he is up in the 5th position, so challenging for that 4th position here. So we'll see. I'm not going to change it mid-race just yet.
I'm sticking by my guy, the driver of the Apollo Rays Energy Machine, Timothy Latham. He's got that car seemingly turning a little bit better. Maybe it'll turn good enough to stay ahead of the 97, and he'll sweep the road courses on the season. Obviously, haven't seen, don't think, unless I'm crazy, haven't seen a playoff win from Timothy Latham. No, the first round was LeBron, Jensen, and then this, yeah. So, missing one in the playoff win column, plenty, 7 to be exact in the regular season column, but we'll see if he takes one here in the playoffs.
Right now, Timothy Latham has opened up a 1.3 second lead, so we are sitting here looking at second place because it is the closest race on the track. So Benjamin D trying to take that second spot away from Philip Loy so he can go after Timothy Latham once again.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the longer he fools around here with that car, the further ahead Timothy Latham pulls that 5 machine. I mean, he's not really gapping him. But, you know, he's doing what he needs to be. A comfortable little 1.7 second lead. It looked like there. Actually lost a little bit. But it's a comfortable lead for Timothy nonetheless. Obviously, you don't want him to even get a 1/10 of a second lead. Philip Loy going to allow Benjamin D to slide on by. So now begins the rundown. 2.9 seconds now to Timothy Latham, Sean. It's going to be a drive in 10 laps to do it.
We're going to take a look to see if they can get through this turn safely because they were so close to each other. It looks like they will, and Benjamin D will start to kind of drive away a little bit. While we have a chance here, Brandon, I want to go back because, again, Chad Genningsman got into the wall there. We weren't really sure what happened. I'd love to go back and just see if we can figure out what happened to Chad Genningsman back here. Looks like coming into turn number 1. And again, tough turn, and he just spins it. He barely taps that inside wall, but he was just stuck there for a while.
He just gave it a little bit of a kiss, nothing major. Oh, that would have been detrimental. BJ Eaglekin's coming up to round out the field and almost caught the 9-car by surprise. I think Chad's going to be okay. Obviously a little further behind than he'd want to be right now. But one thing that I want to focus on is that lap time at the top of the board. It's 4.5 the last time by, 2.5 now. So Timothy better get some gone in that 5 machine because Benjamin D is trying to win stage 1, stage 2, and the race. And he's charging hard to try to do just that.
Well, so far, he's really been the only one that has shown that he has a car that can compete with Timothy Latham. But again, you can see the scraping on the side of that car. Will that damage come back and haunt him?
Well, and one thing, you know, to remember now, we saw him basically in a no-pressure situation. A little bit of pressure, I guess, from a lapped car, but really in a no-pressure situation, Dakota Jorgensen going to get by Justin Boyles there for position. Boyles did not get onto the racetrack the way he wanted to. But, you know, no pressure, and Benjamin D kind of touched that wall. Now he's got all the pressure in the world as he tries to run down Timothy, and he's down to 1.4 seconds. But if by chance he oversteps just a hair, and the damage gets worse. Oh, contact between the 49 and the 8 car there, Sean.
And they are starting to heat things up a little bit, and up front we are almost within a second, so we will jump back there and take a look. So it's about 1.2 seconds as it sits. But Benjamin D has been getting closer and closer every single turn.
Man, I just, I watched some of the racing throughout the field. I see Timothy smooth, Benjamin smooth. Some of these cars are just, they're not driving the way these guys want them to drive, Sean. They're a little bit slippery, a little bit slidey all through the corners, and it's really the, not to be sarcastic, so to speak, that's the difference. That's been the big thing. Some of these cars are driving smooth, much like the one on your screen. Oh, Greg Edney. Looks like he's there. Maybe cooked it a little bit too hard into the first chicane, but trying to give everything they've got in the car, in the tires, much like we see Greg Edney do there, I'm sure. Just giving all he's got, Sean, and not receiving enough out of the race car.
Well, I think Timothy Latham got the memo because he has opened up to a 3.2 second lead now. So I think he figured out.
We have an issue in turn number 1. There's turn number 1. There was just the 8 car having to take a tow. Justin Boyles got stuck in the turn 1 retaining wall, the soft spot in the heartburn turn. The rec replay will take you to it momentarily.
And he just overdoes it. Car gets out, and then, and one of the weird things about iRacing sometimes is you'll get stuck in these barriers and you have no choice but to take the tow. And so that is going to be a very long tow for him because it's all the way around the track.
Yeah, and the bad news, on a track, Daytona, it's a little bit shorter. It's no straight to the point. Still a 3-minute tow, so not sure the exact amount of time Justin Boyles will have to tow here, but it's going to be a little bit of a long one for Justin Boyles. A long night just got longer. But his teammate up front, Timothy Latham, putting the pressure on, saying, hey, I know you're fast, Benjamin. Come and get me. And right now, Timothy's winning the best, or getting the best of that cat and mouse game that they have going on. He continues to lead right now as we're closing in on just about the final 5-6 laps on stage here. Timothy trying to knock off another stage win. But can he stay consistent? Can he consistently be ahead of Benjamin D? Philip Lloyd right behind Benjamin D in third, so that if Benjamin makes a mistake, Philip Lloyd's taking the second spot. A lot of chaos so far. We've seen cars crash, Sean. We've seen cars park it. But still yet, anything can and will happen here in the iVCS playoff.
One of the cars that parked it, actually in another chat room, just said that he is not running very well tonight, so nobody better pick him. That was Oskar Jensen, and he has pulled his car off the track.
Yeah, and like I said, Oskar, I have became a big fan of Oskar. So, buddy, if you tuned in, if you came to watch with us, you don't know how much you impressed me last night by seemingly giving up the win in one hand and working with me to get back up there in the other. I mean, a lot of these guys will say, sucks to be that guy. You took a chance on me, buddy, and I'm glad we could get a 1-2 finish out of it. Had a lot of fun running that series with you, and it's tough for me to pick between about 3 drivers that I've gotten to know decently well, Oskar, Timothy, and Boyles. Amongst who I would like to see win the championship. Obviously, no disrespect, Justin. Got to lean more toward Oskar and Timothy. They've put up the most wins on the board this season. So it's going to be crazy. We'll find out if those 3 or what exact 4 make the Final 4 race at Phoenix. It's coming up quick, Sean. Just another couple of weeks. PJ Engelken's going to blink in front of our second place runner. I know that had to be a scary moment, but Boyles back out on the track. Sean, if we can, though, let's get a shot of the right rear of that 97 car there now.
Let's take a look at that. Yeah. Let's see if we can pull that up. So you can see a little bit of damage to the right rear. It was the right front that was the bigger damage.
Yeah, and that damage on the right rear just happened not long ago. I've been staring at the rear bumper of the 97 for much of this run, and you see the gap to Timothy grew a little bit. So I'm not sure if he come off and just got into the wall a little bit, but It's definitely worse than it was. It's got the spoiler all out of whack, and there's one thing you can't do trying to dethrone Timothy Latham. It's make those type of mistakes. Now Philip Lloyd back with pressure on you as well. That's just going to allow Timothy to get out the front window and likely take this stage here.
Philip Lloyd doing everything he can possibly do to get as many stage points as he can. He desperately needs them. We're coming up on the stage once again. So again, lap 34 is the end of this stage. Not sure if Benjamin's going to have enough to get Timothy Latham this time around, but he better be careful for Philip Lloyd.
Yeah, you know, nonetheless, when you look at consistency, it's been these top three drivers. Benjamin D, as of right now, won stage one. Looking at no worse than a third if nothing changes. You've got Philip Lloyd third in stage one. A lot to gain here. He could match the third place. He could improve that by one position, depending upon. Oh, actually, scratch that for a moment. The race for the lead a lot closer than it was a moment ago. Not sure if Timothy made a mistake, but I don't know where it's going to come out to after the chicane. But it looked much closer in the chicane. No, it's about the same. So, but as I was saying, you know, Philip Lloyd, those guys have seemingly kept things pretty close. And he has the opportunity to maximize his points here tonight.
Yes, he does. And we'll take a look at those points here at the stage break just to see what those look like. But right now, Timothy Latham, actually, Benjamin D is catching him. So Benjamin D within 2 seconds once again. Not sure he's going to have enough time. So another 2 laps to go in this stage. But you just never know. Timothy overcooks it somewhere, which we have seen him do. Then that could allow Benjamin D to get something.
You know, I know Timothy well. I had the pleasure of.
In the wall.
Don't touch the wall there. That's not what you want to do. But what I was about to say, I had the pleasure of knowing Timothy pretty well. I got to go to a racetrack not too awful long ago with him. Got to meet Samantha Bush. Kyle was there with his son Brexton. One thing's for sure, Timothy does well under pressure, so I know him good enough to know that when it starts to heat up, much like it is right now, he handles it well. Anything can happen. He still is human. There's still that possibility that Benjamin gets the best of Timothy here in stage number 2 with just a handful of laps, less than a handful of laps remaining.
Oh, no, and they both had to brake check. Looks like Benjamin D is probably going to have to serve just a couple-second penalty there for cutting that corner. So that's going to allow Timothy Latham to get out front some more. Philip Lloyd actually takes second place away. So another point that Philip Lloyd desperately needs to stay in this playoff hunt.
And honestly, if Timothy doesn't cool it out front, it's going to allow Philip Lloyd to charge up there and maybe wrestle the stage away from Timothy.
1.5 seconds is the lead right now. Still have a lap and a half to go before the stage break. Timothy Latham puts it into the wall, overcooks it into one of the turns. So yes, he is great under pressure, but a couple of bad turns for him. Justin Boyles, he is spinning on the track right now as it sits. So that is up in turn 1 once again. Having trouble there.
Yeah, and one thing, you know, you talk about Timothy Latham, you know, a lot of guys consider him almost Superman-like when it comes to driving a race car. I know I've talked to a lot of guys that say, hey, I haven't seen anyone drive the race car like Timothy drives a race car. The one thing I want to show with that right there, mistakes can be made no matter how good you are. And you see your top 3 have been the top 3 much of the race. Only over a second now, actually. Maybe for the moment going to peak underneath a second, down to 9/10 of a second to Philip Lloyd. So one thing Philip's done that has to start concerning you, Sean, he's kept the car clean. He hasn't gotten the damage that we've seen some of our other guys get. And if he wins this race, if by chance Philip Lloyd wrestles this one away, the playoffs are shaken. Someone that come in here in the white won't be headed out the other side.
So that is one thing that nobody that is up front wants to see is a Philip Lloyd with momentum. And so Philip Lloyd, when he gets momentum, he does amazing things on the track. And you can see it right now up in second place. He has put a second, 1.1 seconds on Benjamin D. And he's still a second and a half behind Timothy Latham. It looks like he's not going to catch him in this stage, but he is going to be primed and ready for stage 3.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I mean, there's still a little bit of opportunity for Philip Lloyd to get there. I think they do technically have to complete this lap, if I'm not mistaken. Timothy capitalizing. Captain Clutch, he's been as of late in this race. Oh, Philip driving it in, sailing it in there, trying everything he can. Only 0.3 of a second. Timothy gets loose. Philip Lloyd's there, and he's our new leader, Sean.
Not sure if that's going to stick or not, because that did end the stage technically, but no yellow flag just yet, so not really sure what the ruling there is going to be. Usually they make them hold up, and it looks like Philip Lloyd is slowing down to allow him to go past once again. So that is how it's going to be. It is going to be Timothy Latham up front, Philip Lloyd in second, Benjamin D in third for that stage.
I don't know though, Sean. If I'm Philip, I'd argue the point we usually finish that lap.
Yeah, it's an interesting rule and a really tough rule to determine here on a road race, because it is such a long road. And so not really sure about the ruling there, but hey, we're not in the admin booth, man. We're in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, and that's for sure. I mean, you know, we'll leave that one up to the admins, but man, I was listening there to Timothy. I think he said he did have a little bit of damage from, in his words, using the wall to turn. So we'll see what happens here. Philip Lloyd, if possible, let's go 8 to 9, 17 points. Sean, can we take a look real quick at the standings again?
We certainly can. So here you are. This is before tonight's race. And so we've gone through 2 stages now. Philip Lloyd, if I remember correctly, had a 3rd place and a 2nd place.
Yeah, and that's going to give him about 17 stage points. So Kendall has gotten some stage points. I'm going to look real quick and see just where Kendall finished that one up.
I believe it was in 6th.
So obviously Philip, I don't think is going to be able to climb out of that hole, because even right now 10 cars look like running at race speed unless something happens to Kendall. It's going to be tough for Philip to capitalize that, but I don't know. He's still got that opportunity, I guess, to ultimately steal the win.
Yeah, forget about the points for a second. What if he wins this thing?
By my calculations, if he wins right now, Kendall LeBron would be the driver out. It's close between he and Jorgensen. I think Jorgensen did get one more stage point this time than LeBron. I think LeBron got one more than Jorgensen last time. So it's going to be about that 7-point difference there. And obviously, you know, if Philip Lloyd wins, Kendall LeBron brings home 2nd. Not saying that's the case, but it could be. You know, Dakota Jorgensen not really safe. I think it's a tough call to say Benjamin D's not safe now. He has to be pretty close. Obviously, Genixman and Zach York, likely pretty much a lock. Zach York is definitely going to be a lock, and the reason I say that is he got at least 5 stage points there, 66 the most he could lose. So Zach York now transfers to the next round. We'll see ultimately what everyone else does. Chad Genixman close. He got about 2-3 stage points there. Going to knock him up to being about positive 50 plus what he got from stage 1. So he's close with only 14 cars entering the race. Jordan Sailors, Ted Boulevard, 27, 28 laps down. Oscar, 15 down. They've all disconnected and parked it for the night. So I think, Sean, that puts Genixman close. It's really a battle amongst that final spot, and if Philip Lloyd can put on his Superman cape and win this thing,
it's going to be definitely a good finish to the race. Now, you can see all the damage that is on Timothy Latham's car, especially there in the back. You can see how clean Philip Lloyd's is. That could play a part in this because, again, Timothy Latham, damage. Benjamin D, damage. Zach York, damage. Dakota Jorgensen, not sure if he's damaged or not. He's looked No, I see some damage on him too. The only clean car out there that I see, Brandon, is Philip Loy.
That's where it gets scary. I mean, we've seen Genningsman. He's had a little bit of trouble. We see him get in the wall. It wasn't much. Justin Boyles looped the car a few times. Richard Springer, the guys from Richard Springer on back, all not on the lead lap. As you said, Jorgensen, some right front damage. Zach York, front end, rear end damage. I'm sure I missed someone there. Latham, front end, rear end damage. Just like Kendall LeBron, he's looped it. Greg Edney's looped it. The one car, as you said, ironically, the 0-1 car that has no damage, Philip Loy so far. Sitting tough, and it's got to be worrisome if you're these other drivers. You need, if you're Kendall LeBron, Dakota Jorgensen, you need that 0-1 to make a mistake. If you're Philip Loy, Sean, you need to not make a mistake. You need to keep it clean because it's coming down to the wire, and he has the opportunity. He's been as fast as Benjamin on that run. He was as fast as Timothy on the first run. He's matched pace with these guys. It's the final time. Going to go green here very shortly, and he's got to be on the top of his game. He's got to do what's necessary and head out of here still in the playoffs.
So next question, Brandon. So first stage 17 laps, second stage 17 laps. We're probably going to get started on lap 39. So we've got 36 laps in this stage. Are we talking pit stops, or can somebody stretch this?
I don't think there's any way in the world someone stretches this one out. I think we see a green flag pit stop, and depending upon when. Now, if we talk back to the iVCS at Sonoma, you saw, or if we have our regular steer that watched that race, or Sean, if by chance you caught the race, Justin Boyles was flat gone. He didn't take tires on the final pit stop, and that led to Timothy Latham running him down and wrestling that one away. So the fastest race car with the wrong call can lose this race very easily. If Philip Loy, even Zach York, who's currently in third, makes a better call than our leaders, that's where we run into issues. And actually, Sean, I'm missing a car. I do not see Benjamin D. I'm not sure if I just missed him.
He actually stayed in the pits a little bit longer, get some damage fixed. He stayed in there for about a minute 37 in his pit box trying to get some damage taken care of. So that may serve him well as we go through. We'll take a quick look and just see if it looks a little better.
Yeah, it definitely looks better, but what would concern me? You've spent the whole race having no more than 2 cars to pass, and now you've got the field to pass. You've got to pass everyone who knows you're fast, who knows this is the last time that we'll get a caution. It's the last time they get re-racked and restacked. So maybe not a lot of courtesy coming for the fast guys driving through the field. PJ, likely he'll let you go. If you're Kendall LeBron, when you get to him, that's where you start battling for that final position, and Kendall can't afford to be too generous because, well, I guess if you're Benjamin D and Kendall LeBron, you want Benjamin to charge back up there, Sean. You don't want to see Philip Loy win this thing, so I guess that's a way to look at it. Obviously, you got to drive through the field making no mistakes if you're Benjamin D at the rear back there, and it's a long, only 14 cars, but it's a long drive through those cars. Looks like he's got about 6 ahead of him. We'll see, because the lights on the pace car are off. They're about to rejoin the backstretch as soon as they make it through turns 1 and 2, and we're about to get stage 3 underway, Sean.
So we saw Chad Genningsman jump into the pits very, very late. I mean, is that strategy, or is he just trying to get that 1 bonus point?
I think that's strategy. I think he's going to try what he can to stretch it. And maybe he was, with his strategy, we could see these guys here be 1 to 2 short, even with a pit stop. We don't know, 17. We know they can go 17. They went 17, but we really haven't seen what the max run is on fuel. Let me just actually take a look here. I'm going to jump in my test drive race car and just see about 26 laps standing still. So you're going to have less than 26 when you're moving, Sean. So 13.1 gallon. So obviously using about half a gallon, a little more than half a gallon a lap. So we will see a green flag pit stop if my calculations are right, about 20 laps. So still yet, that's too far for Chad to stretch it. Maybe just trying to get a few more out of the gas tank before he makes a pit stop.
So now the next question is, the first people that come down to the pits, what lap do you come down? So if you have 20 laps of fuel, do you come down at 55 or do you wait to be about 57, try to get a little bit of position out there? It's going to be tough to find out, but here we go. Back to green flag racing. Timothy Latham out front, and he got a great jump on there, Brandon.
Yeah, and that's the one thing he's mastered in iRacing is restarts. But not taking away anything from that 0-1. He's stuck it with him so far. I just don't want to see Philip Lloyd make a mistake trying to keep up with that 5 car right now because there's so much racing left to go. You see Benjamin's up to about 5th position, so actually challenging for 4th now. Benjamin's on the hot pedal right now. He is coming. Maybe got that front end fixed enough that he can drive these guys back down, but one thing's for certain. Anyone in the top 5 right now close enough to steal it from the next guy. We'll see, Sean. It's about to get crazy at the Roval.
It is definitely go time here at the Roval. So Timothy Latham coming into this corner, and Philip Lloyd just staying right on his tail, cutting through a little bit. He is going to try to take a nice line there. So half a second is the lead right now. We'll pull up the battle box so you can see how close it is. So Philip Lloyd half a second away. Oh, and Timothy with a little bit of a shimmy there. Lloyd all on his bumper.
Unfortunately for Lloyd, to the right end of that chicane, kind of jumped the turtle shell a little bit. Hopefully didn't cause damage. Those turtle shell, contrary to popular belief, can destroy a good race car quickly. Hopefully no damage for Philip Lloyd there as he continues to run down the driver out front, the number 5 of Timothy Latham. Benjamin D still kind of mired back and forth, hasn't been able to get past teammate Zach York yet, Sean, and you have to start worrying if you're Benjamin D, because the more you fool around trying to pass, and actually it looks like he did get by. But he goes wide, gonna lose the spot. Maybe I'm a little bit behind, so yeah, that is what happened. He did get past Zach York, went wide and lost the spot. Now you see him challenging. I actually got to come back to full on my end, or back to the live. But he did lose the spot, then gained the spot, so he's back out in front of Zach York in 3rd. I think it's 3rd, 4th.
Yep, he is back in 3rd position right now, about half a second ahead of York at this time. But up front, Timothy Latham, he has built it up to 0.7 of a second, now 3/4 of a second. So we will see if Philip Lloyd can close the gap here. He loves that last turn. That last turn for Philip Lloyd is actually a really good turn for him. He always gains time on Timothy Latham there. So, back up under half a second. So if he can find 1 or 2 more turns where he can beat Latham as far as time is concerned, he's going to be right there with him.
Yeah, and the one thing I have to say, Philip Lloyd, if you watch this broadcast back, brother, I've seen one driver take that final chicane as beautifully as he's been doing, and that's the man himself, the king of the Charlotte Roval, Bobby Zielinski. He absolutely nailed it, and Bobby Zielinski is no slouch, arguably the best Roval racer on the planet. Oh, maybe a little bit of the wall for Philip Lloyd there, though.
Just a little scrape, so it didn't seem like he bounced off of it too hard. Shouldn't be too much damage there, but definitely slowed him down just a hair. And you'll see here, Brandon. So past this, we'll go around the turn, and then we will see what happens in the next chicane. I want you to watch that time. So we're up to about 0.9 seconds, and let's see if Lloyd can do it again right here on this turn. So he cuts off almost 0.2 of a second there.
And unfortunately for Timothy, if he continues to stay about half a second back, Timothy's a sitting duck. I'm telling you, in the words of Josh Medlock, I don't know if he's still out in chat with us. I know he's got some broadcasting going on. but I'd probably wreck Timothy for a Klondike bar the same.
Oh, no!
Oh! Good save. Gathered it back up. But if I'm Philip Loy, Sean, and I'm within distance, I'd wreck him for a Klondike bar, but I'd certainly wreck him for a shot to go to the next round of the playoffs, because that's what matters to these boys here now. It's crunch time.
That little bit of wiggle allowed Timothy to jump out to 1.8 seconds, and so that's all it takes for Timothy to really gain a lot of ground. Oh, but Timothy slides it into that turn.
I tell you right now, these boys got to settle down in 1 and 2, because the man in poised, he's got a lot of time still to gain 3.5 seconds back. They keep making these silly mistakes. They're going to allow Benjamin D to close that gap. Oh, Philip Lloyd cooked it into the final chicane.
Oh, he's going to cut that corner, which means he's going to have to slow down. Here comes Benjamin D, and he will take second position away from Philip Lloyd. Big mistake for Philip Lloyd there.
Yeah, and that's what I was just getting ready to say. It's hard enough the way this race has went to keep Benjamin D behind you. Silly little simple mistakes are making it all too easy for the 97 car. So just as we talked about, Sean, about 7 more laps, we're in the pit window. I think in the spot that we're in now, Benjamin has to run it long, use those new tires later in the run. Philip Lloyd, he's got to get to pit road. He's got to be one of the first cars down pit road, trying to gain back the probably about 4 seconds he's behind Timothy now, because just by my quick calculations, oh, Kendall Levrone around in front of Chad. Nope. No damage to anyone, it doesn't look like. Minor damage, if any, to the 28 car, but you got to try to capitalize that, because by my quick math, Sean, third place finish isn't going to cut it for that 0-1 car.
No, I don't think it will either. However, Kendall Levrone, he is on the inside of the cut, and now he has just dropped down to 9th position. So definitely not something that's good for him. Not sure it's going to be enough, though. We will have to get the math as soon as this race is done.
Yeah, and I tell you what, with the 17 points, 6th then, Kendall Levrone would be 6 above. Take 10. I still think a second at worst would be what you would need if you're Philip Lloyd. So still yet not quite in the position that he needed to be in. I know what it's like to be running second and just see that car just to reach a distance and try to push it a little harder. And that's what Philip Lloyd did. Kind of cost him a little bit, but still about 30 laps to go for time for him to gain that track position back. So anything can and will happen, and that's really all that matters right now.
You know, Brandon, next season, we are going to have to figure out a way to get a statistician in here so that we can figure out what the real-time points are.
Yeah, that's some, you know, I'm actually going to talk to a friend of mine. You've heard it here first. I don't know if he would require a charge or if he'd be willing to work with us on it. I know a guy, Sean, pretty well. Actually know him very well, Joaquin Meza. He's a code writer. He's wrote in the Discord for the other league that he's an admin in. He actually has written a code so that when you go in the Discord, you type !! standings. It tells you your standing position, your points, your top 5s, your top 10s, your wins for every series that they run, and they run 3 series. So he's written codes like that before, and I wonder if we could work something up for the SRN broadcast pertaining to the code and live scoring timing of points. Maybe that's something to be coming soon. Hopefully we'll work on it.
That would be excellent. Now, I'll tell you, while we were talking there, I think something happened to Justin Boyles. Let's go back and find out. While he was racing for position with Greg Edney, he comes around the corner and again just overdoes it and spins on the track. So no damage to the car, but just spins around and just loses a ton of time, allows Kendall Levrone to move up into 8th position.
Just wheel hopped in there, man. When he went to, you know, he made the, the right-hand turn, and then when he went to go back to the left, just the tires were spinning and the car wasn't turning. But, man, I'm not sure there. We just missed it. Something happened to Timothy Latham. I heard him say, you didn't see that to Benjamin D. So a mistake made by the driver of the 5.
Definitely, because here comes Benjamin D, and you can see the time on the screen right in front of you there. He is catching him and catching him very quickly, going out to the outside here on turn 1. And he is going to try to make that pass. Can't quite get there. That has got to be so frustrating for Benjamin D to know that he has him dead to rights and just can't get past him.
Well, I tell you one thing that would worry me if I'm Timothy Latham. We'll say it in a PG manner. For Benjamin D to try to pass in the heartburn turn on the outside, that took a pair, Sean, and he made it work. Just not quite enough momentum, though, up the hill. I couldn't imagine trying to sail a race car into the heartburn turn on the outside of someone, but Benjamin decided, hey, maybe that's what it's going to take. Let's do it. And it didn't work that time, but still the opportunity is a second back. Timothy's got to be on his A game. This is where the mistake would have happened last lap, so we'll see Timothy a much better corner this time, it looks like. About a 0.6 of a second through that corner. So, Mr. Consistency, Timothy at the road courses has capitalized back on it, still holding half a second. Oh,
Philip Loy around.
Good. Great, good, and terrible now has been the race for Philip Loy.
Oh, and up front.
Benjamin trying it again. Not going to stick that time, though. He's got the inside line for the next 3 corners. He's going to easily clear Timothy, who says, go ahead, big guy. We got pit stops coming up. Timothy not worried about it, but the one thing I'd be worried about, there's a third-place car lurking back there that loves to see the battle. The guy that needs a win to get the momentum rolling, and the front 2 ahead of him are battling back and forth, throwing punches, throwing kicks. Philip Loy brings it to pit road, though, Sean.
So he brings it to pit road a little bit early, so 28 laps away. So that might possibly be it for Philip Loy. Not sure. So coming in just a little bit earlier than what we expected. Not sure if he can stretch it 8 more laps.
Yeah, I just think that's too far out of reach. You know, as I said, the fresh race car, full tank of fuel, I was showing 26.1, and just not where you want to be, you know, if you're trying to hold on to that spot. But, man, this battle up front, kind of getting a little sour. Someone, I'm not sure who that was, someone blew up a motor.
That might have been Philip Loy. So I'm not seeing anyone coming off the track. The only car that is in the pits right now is Philip Loy. So that may have been him. He's been in the pit stall for a minute.
It was, in fact, Philip Loy. I'm sitting here. I rewound to watch him on pit road. And while he was sitting on pit road, the motor goes up in smoke. So, not what you like to see if you're Philip Loy.
And you can see what happens here. He just overdoes. Oh, huge hit on the inside wall. Yep, that will definitely kill your engine. That is going to probably end the playoff hunt of the 01 car.
Yeah, it most definitely does, Sean. I mean, it was coming down to points, but now with him being behind Kendall LeGrand, Kendall holds the edge. That's about all she wrote, unfortunately, because he made a valiant effort. Richard Springer loops it again, so not the race Richard Springer wanted. He's missing a front end, looking like a modified.
And so Benjamin D has opened it up to over a second now.
Man, I was just riding along with Timothy and with Benjamin through all of these corners. It seems like that rear end of the 97 is so attached to the racetrack. He doesn't have a lot of wheel spin going on. And Timothy, every time he gets back to the gas, you can just see the tires spin more with less grip than the 97 has. So, new tires, I think the 5 car is much better than the 97, but on a long run, the 97 is much better than the 5 car.
Well, we will have pit stops coming up really shortly here, I believe. So probably another 6, 7, 8 laps, something like that. But right now, Benjamin just sticking to that 1 second lead. Looks like Kendall LeBron going into pit lane as we speak. So I think he is going to try a little pit strategy, maybe try to stretch this thing.
Yeah, and that's really, you know, that's what it's going to take at this point. If you can save enough fuel, if you can just get a few more than everybody else, you put yourself in a good spot. And you see PJ going to allow the leaders to go by, not wanting to impede their race, their battle for the top spot at the Roval. But Timothy closed it back in just a hair. So Timothy, I guess in terms to speak about him, you know, that a lot of our viewers would understand, he's a lot like Daniel Bowdler. When he's out front, it's all good. You know, he's running hard, he's running clean races, but when you pass that guy, he gets silent, he goes to work, and he starts running his cleanest, fastest laps of the race. And that's what we're seeing now, Sean. He's now in chase mode with that 97, and he's driving it for what it's worth. And that's everything right now, because he's trying to be the guy back on top after the Charlotte Roval.
Well, a lot of times in order to get into the zone, you really have to have somebody pass you. You have to have something bad happen to you in order for you to decide, you know what, let's focus a little bit more. Let's really get after this thing. And so I think that Benjamin passing Timothy Latham here may have served Timothy Latham really well, because I bet he is more focused right now than he has been all race.
No, you're exactly right. When it comes to me in my career on iRacing, even back to, you know, NASCAR 09, those days where I spent the majority of my time, I never once, Sean, ran off and just dominated a race. I was always the guy that wanted to be second most of the race, because I could put together the laps and match what the guy in front of me was doing. And I could get out front, I could run in front of you. When you're in my mirror, I'm running clean laps based off how you're driving. But I never could, and still yet, even in iRacing, I've never just flat ran off and dominated. I just match what the drivers around me are doing, and it's allowed me to win many races. That's what Timothy's in right now. You see, he's staying 1.2 or less with Benjamin D. He's going to slip there, fall a little bit further back, but just by being able to match and watch what Benjamin's doing, it's causing him, it's forcing him to run cleaner laps, and that's allowing him to stay in the hunt for this race.
So Justin Boyles, usually one of the first ones to pit, and here he is getting down pit road, 25 laps to go. He's going to have to save something.
I just think right there, that might be the marker. That might be, I know Boyles was a long way back, but Dakota Jorgensen going to get a little slow and wide. Kendall LeBron going to squeeze past, but you know, just speaking of Justin Boyles there, I think that might be the race. You know, he's going early. He's trying to get back into this thing. Obviously, if the two leaders get to racing, I think my emphasis right now is on the 49 car. There's a little bit of a gap between our first and second place, but the 49 car, if he beats them to pit road and they get racy late in this thing, that could capitalize for Zach York and open the door for him. I think Boyles may have been just a hair out of it. Nonetheless, Boyles does have the opportunity to improve his position. 7th position now, which isn't terrible, the last car on the lead lap, but the first down pit road nonetheless, Sean.
Well, let's take a look really quick, since everybody's pretty well spread out. So, Brandon, Mark Kuda didn't show up tonight. Ted Pullen already out of the race. Philip Loy now out of the race. Greg Edney up in 5th position right now. But Benjamin D up there leading, so he's going to move up. Kendall LeBron right now slotted back in 8th place, a lap down. And so Dakota Jorgensen up in 4th position right now. So Greg Edney has a shot, a very, 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 very slim shot.
Yeah, and honestly, that's about it. And, Benjamin blew the chicane. That's going to allow, with the time given back, for Timothy to close the door. We'll get back to our battle or our chat. That was, okay, that's what I thought happened. So back to what I said, you know, Timothy said, hey, you didn't see that. Timothy pitting now. Benjamin slowing the car down. He says,
Benjamin pitting now.
So fast, Timothy, I'm coming with you. But to go back when Timothy had the lead, Sean, based on what Benjamin just said in driver chat, Timothy also blew the chicane the same way.
So it looks like Zach York will inherit the lead. He is not pitted just yet, so we will watch and see who gets off of pit road first. Timothy or Benjamin. So Timothy just easing into his box, Benjamin easing into his, so side by side. And so we will find out very shortly who is going to be the first one out. As we see the left sides going up.
For Zach York, I think now you have to run the car dry. You have to get all you can get out of this set of tires so you have a little bit more than the guys ahead of you left later. But that time by, he didn't pit, so should have been. No, that wasn't actually the time to pit. I just saw the barrels there and thought he was going about start-finish line. But we'll see if he pits this time or if he does continue to run. Timothy already about to go to battle with Greg Edney for position. Richard Springer, man, just tough race for him. But I've got to give him credit, Sean. He hasn't given up.
Nope, he is still out there, only 2 laps down, which, like I said before, we've got 5 guys out of the race right now. So Richard Springer doing just fine overall. Zach York into the pits, so Dakota Jorgensen will come around and take the lead.
There's a pretty decent gap right now between the 97 and the 5. The 97 catching the 30 in a long time. The 5 clear up to his teammate. Greg Edney, though, going to let Benjamin D go. Go to Jorgensen, bring it to the pit road, not going to race his teammate. Man, Benjamin just closes the gap in that final chicane. Beautiful execution on that chicane. There's your race. I mean, once it all cycles through, there's no way anyone out front of these guys is going to make it to the end. Actually, Latham actually has the lead now, so I was going to say there's no one left to make it to the end, but this is going to be your battle, and right now, Benjamin is smooth sailing, trying to reel in that 5 car.
Benjamin D trying everything he possibly can. Right now, Latham keeping it right at about a second, but we have seen both of these guys blow a chicane before. So just one more time of that, and that will allow the other one to pull away or pass.
Yeah, and honestly, if someone's going to blow a chicane, it has to be Timothy. If Benjamin blows the chicane and Timothy does not, that's going to be about curtains for the end of this one, because they're just so great at road course racing. Ooh, Kendall LeBron wide in the chicane there. Going to have the leaders coming by. Hopefully, hopefully stays down, allows them both to go. She does. Big courtesy, big respect to Kendall LeBron there. But, Sean, if Timothy doesn't blow a corner, oh, he gets in a little hot. Oh, he blew it.
He did blow it. Oh, my goodness. Benjamin D out on the inside as we come into the heartburn turn.
Timothy going for the crossover. Going to be back to the inside. I think I would have stayed outside. Maybe he's thought about it now. This is the battle. This could be the race, the final drive. Is this the last time we see him within striking distance of each other? Timothy with a better run through that corner. Going to look inside of Benjamin. Benjamin going to try to keep the door shut. Not going to happen that time. Benjamin has to correct and go wide. Timothy charging through, but the next couple of corners are Benjamin's. He's off the track. Man, it's getting wild, and Timothy's going to take the top spot back on the left side of Benjamin D. Benjamin D trying to go back to the left side of Timothy. Timothy shuts the door.
This is the best racing we have seen all day and maybe even all season.
Yeah, I was going to say, nonetheless, the best road course racing that we've seen. Man, it's just been a back-and-forth battle between the 5 and the 97, and Timothy made sure not to blow that chicane. This is the one coming up, Sean, that give him the problem the last time around.
Well, there's just so much speed coming into this corner that if you don't brake at the exact moment you're supposed to, then you will either blow it or you will come in too angular. And if you come in too angular, you're going to hit those turtles.
Yeah, and that was a beautiful execution by both first and second place. Obviously, the one thing you want if you make a mistake is the guy you're racing to make a mistake as well. And that's what we saw. Timothy blew the chicane. I think it's going to be turn 6, I do believe. Benjamin got a little wide there, got off in the grass, so he equalized the mistake. But whoever's going to capitalize is going to make one less mistake than the other. I don't think they run 20 more perfect laps. I think there's more mistakes. But the guy that makes one less than the other is going to win. And that was from Justin Boyles. The guy who makes less mistakes and stays out front's the guy that's going to win. I knew he liked that comment a couple of weeks ago.
So Timothy Latham, Benjamin D, putting it on everybody else. Zach York is only 3 seconds behind Benjamin D, but after that, Dakota Jorgensen about 26 seconds behind third place. And so really 3 cars is all it is right now, and Timothy's starting to pull away a little bit.
Well, the one thing that I've seen, and I saw it in the Discord, Justin Boyles said he and Timothy learned how to really sail it into this corner right here. We haven't seen Timothy do that. But in a last-ditch effort at the end of the race, maybe Timothy just sails it off in there the way he's due. And that could be the difference, because right now, just one drive deeper than the other. And it could change the outcome of the race. PJ going to stay to the right, allow the leaders to pass. And it's going to be, I feel like Benjamin caught PJ in a better spot than Timothy did. But still, you had about half a second for the race lead. Timothy a little wide. You're going to angle it back for the wall. Benjamin, yet again, a better corner.
And once again, this is the best race on the track right now. Everyone else at least 4 seconds between them. And so right now, this is the closest 2 cars on the track. And sure enough, it's for first and second place.
Yeah, man, this is the part of the track that worries me every time, because one wrong move. Ooh, Benjamin pushing it harder in the chicane than Timothy. That could come back to bite him later. But for the moment, it worked. It allowed him to get under half a second. But the run off of the corner kind of equalized that. Still about 4/10. So that time by, unless something changes in the chicane here. Oh, yeah, back to 1.6. I was going to say that time by, he gained a 10th. But we'll see at the line. Actually, about a 10th and a half gain that time for Benjamin D.
So Benjamin D on those chicanes, especially that last chicane, even though Latham said that he kind of found something, or Boyles did, it looks like Benjamin D has the better of him there. But you can see Benjamin D making a move here, getting a little bit tighter on the inside. Not quite all the way there yet, but he has definitely closed that lap. Timothy knows he is there.
Yeah, and Timothy going into that roundabout there, I guess you would call it, the carousel, if you will, kind of lost the grip in the front end and slid it just a little bit. Benjamin kept the nose underneath him, and now Timothy's in the bad spot, because I think Benjamin is quicker than that 5 car. If he just gets clear, it may be race over. So now Timothy, Benjamin peeking, Timothy checking. Both down into the chicane. He wants Benjamin to drive just too hard, but Benjamin nails it. Timothy back to the bumper, and a little bit loose out of that first chicane. So that's going to allow about a half a second lead for Benjamin, and it's growing to 7/10, Sean.
And let's take a look and see if Benjamin D extends it even further on this chicane. Seems to be his favorite corner on the entire track. Gets through, not a bad move there. And now the lead is 1.4 seconds, just like that.
Yeah, and right now, what Timothy needs is to regroup, cool the tires off, get them back underneath him, and make another charge. Still 17 laps. Again, 17 turns. 17 the lucky number. So, unfortunately, though, there you see the battle for second starting to heat up. Zach York says, hey, guys, I'm glad you used those tires up early, but guess what? I didn't, and I'm coming. So we'll see if Zach York can continue to make the charge. And last thing you want is someone chasing you down that helped you build your set. As teammates, you're running pretty close to the same set, so Benjamin knows that Zach's got a lot of what he's got. And that's where it gets scary for the race leader.
Well, I was just about to say that. So Zach York, Benjamin D, they are teammates. And so right now, if Zach can get past Timothy Latham, then that is going to do some serious damage to Timothy, because he has to get by not just Zach York, but Zach has the ability to block a few times and allow his teammate to get even further out.
Yeah, and what worries me is Zach is just nailing this track right now. You see, boom, he's on it. So, Benjamin, we've seen him and Timothy go back and forth in the mistake column. Zach York had some mistakes early, but relatively knocked off some good laps here as of late, and could really charge down, only 2.3 seconds behind his teammate for the race lead. So, anything could happen. A blown chicane then makes it a 3-car race. But right now, Benjamin's got the door shut on both the 5 and the 49 behind him.
This kind of feels like the first stage all over again, where Benjamin D just had a really great lead. He's a 1.7 seconds out now. If honestly, Brandon, if he hits 5 seconds out, nobody's catching him.
Yeah, and honestly, that's where Timothy and Zach both have to capitalize. They have to stay hard on the charge. And honestly, now Zach and Timothy both under 2 seconds for the moment behind race leader Benjamin D. So much better lap.
We are just trying to see if Zach York is going to make a move here on Timothy Latham. Again, everybody else back in the pack. So fourth place is now 34 seconds behind Zach York. So really, it is a 3-car race now. And then besides that, nobody is closer than 2 seconds to the next person in front of them. So this is the race.
Yeah, realistically, if I'm Timothy here, I'm going to let Zach York go. Hey, come on, get down there. Go chase down your teammate. You guys start racing for it. I'll capitalize. Oh, Zach! Trying to say, hey, buddy, I'm here. But it actually hurts him more than it helps him. The chrome horn did not shake the driver of the 5-car. Oh, but that sliding might do it. Into the back bumper goes the 49. Knocking, coming through. Oh, he's going to wreck him.
And Timothy around. We're going to get another look at that here just really shortly. But let's see how far back that puts Timothy Latham. That's going to put him about 8 seconds down. So we will go back once again and check that out with a rec replay. And you'll see them. They're kind of coming down the hill. And York gets to his inside and just tags him.
I will say hard contact after that for the 8 and the 9 car, both destroying the wall in the chute of the heartburn turn. Boyles off track yet again, so here we're going to see kind of the same thing. Trying to make a pass. Boom. Contact amongst the two. Both of them going to tag the wall simultaneously.
And that is likely going to hurt Boyles more than Ginnigsman, but we will see shortly if he will pull off the track. But up front now, Benjamin D has a 2-second lead on his teammate Zach York. Timothy Latham has fallen back 12 seconds further behind Zach York.
Yeah, and honestly, I heard Zach York say on the radio, an awkward spot to pass. Nonetheless, likely the worst place on the racetrack to pass, in my opinion. But obviously thinking he had the skill to get it done. Cars come together and a little bit of a racing accident there. I don't know that I would have tried to pass there, but Zach thought he could make it work, and that's all that matters, you know. As a race car driver, you know your limitations. You know what you're capable of. No one else does. So, you know, felt that he could do it there. A little bit of an overdrive, contact with the 5 car. It's all good at the end of the day. All 3 of these guys we're going to see in the next round.
And you will see really quickly as we bring up the track map, everyone's spread out right now, so nobody anywhere near each other. So if there is any damage out there, then it is going to be self-inflicted. The closest race on the track right now is for first and second place between teammates Benjamin D and Zach York.
And I believe, as bad as I hate to say it for Zach York, it's about over. Benjamin is just nailing it without a mistake. I don't think we see the lead change hands again. We'll see the 97 parked in victory lane, but Zach York holding it under 2 seconds, not letting Benjamin get too far out ahead. So we'll see if he can continue to make a charge. How much tire does he have left? Did the contact with Latham slow that machine down? I mean, it doesn't look like it yet, but you'll only know as the run continues on. Chad Ginnigsman around again on the other side of the chicane. So he's out of the way. There you see him slightly ahead of the 97 of Benjamin D. First car in frame. Not the night for Flashpoint that they wanted. A long all but Timothy Latham just found trouble. So obviously they were looking for a stronger night. The Arrows have been a pretty successful night though.
Right now, Benjamin D bearing down kind of hard on Justin Boyles, who has lost his front end. And so he will try to make that pass to put him a lap down.
Bad news is he might catch Boyles at an awkward spot here. Just have that little bit of time lost, ultimately shaking down the battle. York's still there. Oh, he catches him at a terrible time. That's going to slow him down for sure. Can Zach York capitalize?
So Benjamin D still 2 seconds ahead of Zach York. Zach still has to get by the number 8 of Justin Boyles. He will likely try to do that here in this next chicane.
Man, that was just a terrible spot to catch Boyles, and did all he could, was able to keep it off. Oh, Boyles cooks it into that chicane.
Yeah, man, he is into the wall. So next up for Benjamin D is Chad Genningsman. That is the 6th place driver. You can see him at the front of your screen. So that is the 6th place driver. So Benjamin D trying to put everybody but the top 5 down a lap.
Yeah, and honestly, if he keeps on this tear, he's liable to get everyone but the top 4, because he is just knocking away laps here. And it's starting to get scary for the guys. You know, Benjamin D's rolling right now.
Yes, he is, and we said that the magic number was 5 seconds, so 5 seconds ahead, and he will be gone. Right now, it's 2 seconds. Zach York not letting up.
Yeah, and Zach York's just trying to keep that pressure on, hoping for a mistake, hoping for another awkward spot. You know, Benjamin getting in an awkward spot, trying to pass the 9 of Genningsman, and that very well may be the case. You know, he's starting to catch Genningsman pretty quick. I think Benjamin got a little bit closer through that, actually much closer through the chicane. Chad just had a rough night, stayed in it, stayed silent. Oh, Justin Boyles spinning again into turn 1. That can't leave much left in that motor.
Yeah, man, he just went off the track, so he's gone ahead and taken that tow back to pit lane. I think his night is probably done.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think he can lose much more than where he was running anyways. So, you know, calling it there, deciding, hey, that's what we've got. It's the cards we were dealt at the Roval. We'll head the next round and see what can be done. Had a lot of momentum here recently, so definitely never count out Justin Boyles in that 8th machine. He's done his part very well in trying to stay alive with these guys. Doesn't have as many wins, but he's got a lot of great runs, and that's one thing, you can say about Boyles. Even if he doesn't get the win, he runs pretty solid, pretty consistently, and I think he'll be a name to make a charge for it at Phoenix. Much, in company, I'm sure, of his teammate Timothy, as well as Oskar. And a toss-up between the 2 cars in 1st and 2nd right now, Benjamin D and Zach York. That's my Final 4. Anything can happen. Things can change quickly, but that's how I see it playing out, Sean.
Well, coming into this playoffs, everybody was thinking Zach York, Zach York. Well, now we got Benjamin D out front. And while both of them should advance into the next round, it's going to be really interesting to see which one of them comes out and shines.
Well, I tell you, one's shining a little brighter than the other right now. As through that chicane, it's about 1.3. I know Benjamin stretched it a hair back out, but man, Zach York is not dying. He's not laying down. He's not giving up. And now with only 9 laps to go, still plenty of time. That's just under 170 turns. Benjamin going to get a little bit loose going up the hill there. That's going to allow some correction. Chad, he's starting to get really close to Chad Genningsman. Chad's going to be another issue for him, trying to get by. I know Chad, even if Chad lets him go, if it's just at the wrong spot and Benjamin has to brake, that just allows Zach that much closer. Still hasn't got there as they're about to make their way back onto the racetrack. Turns 1 and 2, Sean.
Well, out in the chat right now, Merlin Suggs says, let's go Flying Arrows. So Flying Arrows right now, 1 and 2. So going to be a great race for them. And definitely a little bit earlier, Grayson Sullivan, team owner, said, "Go Ben." And so that was back when Ben was way up front ahead of everyone else. I bet right now he's saying, "Go Ben, go Zach, but don't touch each other."
Yeah, in a little bit of a weird spot. Actually, going to get a little less weird these days, but allow them to go by. I was going to say if Benjamin catches those cars while they are side by side, it just opens the door for Zach. But
oh Chad!
Through. Going to get it to a stop, though. Not going to affect either of the top two. That time at the line, it was 1.6 seconds.
So we will see if Zach can get any closer now that there is nobody in front of Benjamin D until he gets up to Greg Edney. But that is still a good 20 seconds ahead, probably 15, 20 seconds ahead. So it looks like clear skies right now for these two as long as they can just keep their noses clean. Third place, Timothy Latham back all the way 24 seconds behind Zach York right now.
Yeah, and I think Timothy, obviously, probably a little aggravated, but he's just decided that third's not that bad. I'm going to the next round. I talked again with him, and I know I said a couple weeks ago that this was Timothy's round. Timothy was pretty adamant, Sean, in saying that next round suited him better than any three-race span across the board in this season. And that's a little scary when you think about what he did at Michigan, Chicago, and Kansas. He went back to back to back in those races, and if this suits him a little better, these guys should be worried about that 5 car.
Well, up front right now, Benjamin D holding that 1.5 second lead. Coming up on 7 laps to go. Can he get it done? Can he keep it clean so that Zach York cannot catch him?
I think now he's a little bit more comfortable with Zach York. He's ran with his teammate, being that of Zach York, so he knows Zach York pretty well. He knows his limitations, what he has, his driving ability. I don't know that he makes a mistake because when you start talking about Timothy, they don't run together as much. They practice together here and there, but as the Flying Arrows camp, Benjamin's running all the time with Zach. They're coordinating, working on setups, and he kind of knows Zach better than anyone else. But he was unsure about Timothy Latham, and I think that's what gave Timothy the edge to cause, I guess, so to speak, Benjamin to make the mistakes that he made it. He's in a comfortable spot. I know, speaking back to running with SRN, when I was running around any of the SRN drivers in any league, I felt so comfortable knowing, that I can trust even, Daniel Bowler to drive me down into that corner. I trust what he's going to do. You don't have that for a lot of other guys that you don't race with as much, Sean. So that, I think, played a part in what happened between Timothy and Benjamin and the mistakes that were made.
Well, and you know that Timothy's got to be extremely frustrated, not just for getting into that wreck with Zach York, regardless of whose fault it was, but also because he is arguably the best driver in this league. He was definitely the best during the regular season, and now we are 6 races into the playoffs and still no wins.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me at all, honestly. I'm not saying this because he's my friend. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he didn't show up and take Kansas, Texas, and Martinsville next round, and maybe even Phoenix. That's what you have to worry about with Timothy. It's easier to keep him out of the win column than, I guess, I'm trying to think of the way to say that. It's easier to keep him without a win than it is to stop him from winning once he starts. So the one thing that they want to do is push him as long as they can, ideally 4 more races, without him getting a win, because once Timothy breaks through, he carries that momentum in the next Friday, and he carries that momentum in the next Friday, and eventually, you're coming off of a streak to end the season, and that in itself is scary for these guys.
Well, definitely, we talked about a little bit earlier, driving angry will sharpen your focus. If he drives angry for an entire race, good luck to everyone.
Yeah, I've come to know that there's certain drivers that you get in their head when you make them angry. That's not the case with Timothy. You make Timothy angry, again, I'm going to relate to him. I know they're not real big fans of each other. It's a lot like Daniel Bowler. When you make Daniel mad, he drives that much harder. He drives that much better, Sean. And that's where it starts to get down to the nitty-gritty, I guess would be the way to say it, because he'll start doing all he can, and there's nothing you want less than Timothy Latham giving it all he's got.
So Benjamin D has opened it up to 2.5 seconds, and now even further, so almost 3 seconds now. So definitely starting to pull away. Zach York had a little bit of trouble getting around. I believe that was PJ Engelkins there. So had a little bit of a struggle there, and so that allowed Benjamin D to get 3 seconds ahead.
Yeah, and if Benjamin doesn't make a mistake, Sean, I believe this one's just about done. The curtain's about to fall. Final bows are about to be made. I mean, it's going to take a big one here for Benjamin D to allow Zach back in it, because this far into the run, with at least about 20 laps on the tires, getting close, it's starting to get to the point where there's no good left no matter who you are. You just used it all. So tires, I don't think, make a play. And there you see, Benjamin just nailed that corner. I was able to watch it from both Benjamin and Zach York. Zach York struggled much more than the smooth Benjamin D through that final chicane. So even that one corner making a difference in the time between the two leaders.
Well, you can see there, so the number 1 car, that's first place, obviously. And so they are catching up right now with the car that's in 7th place. That is Kendall LeBron. Now, Kendall is already a lap down. This would be 2 laps down if they catch him. And so that is the next possible hurdle. But only 4 laps to go now. Not sure it's going to come into play.
Yeah, and even if it does, Kendall, last time by, allowed the leaders to go by. Didn't affect the race at all. Still about 3 seconds from Zach York to Benjamin, or from Benjamin D back to Zach York. So the opportunity, depending on the way he corrected it. He got in there a little hot, but he didn't screw it up. He corrected it. Maybe gave up a 10th or 2. That's better than looping it and giving up a second or 2. So even when he makes mistakes now, Sean, Benjamin D is able to correct them with a 3-point buffer out back to his teammate. And just so smooth through that final chicane again, man. Just nailing left, right, boom, or right, left, boom, onto the gas again. Kendall LeBron at a bad spot. Going to get by him easily. I will say, though, Zach York was at 3.2 seconds. He's now at 3.6.
And so really, really great race for Benjamin D. Taking that first stage completely. Struggled a little bit in that second stage, but then rebounded, got that car back under control, and here he is leading this race by a little less than 3 seconds now. But man, this has been a fun race. I really, the Roval and Watkins Glen are 2 of my favorite races to watch.
Yeah, and honestly, my favorite, I have to say, road course-wise, was the Daytona road course. But then in second place is Charlotte. I do like the Roval, but I want to correct what I said there. When I said 3.6 seconds, he was actually 2.6 seconds back that time by the line. So I was able to make a little bit of gain on Benjamin, but not enough, Sean, if you're trying to drive him down. Coming to the line now to 2 to go. He's going to need roughly about 2.5 seconds a lap. And like I said, without a Benjamin D mistake, that's about all she wrote.
Yeah, now Benjamin hasn't really been able to extend that lead, which just shows how close these setups are and how close these drivers are. I think I saw Zach kind of cook it a little bit there, so it's back up over 3 seconds once again. So here we go. Benjamin D, 2 laps to go, nothing but blue skies in front of him.
Yeah, the one thing that he's done here for sure, he was at the cut line, the final driver. He's come out here and he's notched his name and said, don't forget about me. Just because I had a subpar round, because I was at the bottom, doesn't mean I can't come up here and win these things. And John, above all else, it proves what I was saying in the pre-race show. These drivers now, there's going to be 8 of them left. And any of those 8 can pull off the victory on any given Friday. So you've got to be perfect through the next round to make it to the Final Four, and you've got to be perfect in the Final Four in order to have an opportunity to hoist the trophy at the end. And these guys right now, 1, 2, 3, have been relatively perfect tonight. I think that's what it's going to take in the next round to really make it to Phoenix.
Yeah, with the exception of one incident, this has been a really great race for all these top 3 drivers. So I know Timothy wanted it to go a different way, and I'm sure he'll say that in our interview. But right now, Benjamin D taking that white flag one more time around these 17 turns.
Yeah, right now it's about 14 turns to go. Now 13 for the man in the number 97. Kendall LeBron spins across the chicane. He's okay, though. He's going to get that car back rolling now. Down through the sweeping right-hand duo of turns, back to the left-hand duos, and take them back out on the racetrack. And we hadn't had a shot to do this, so I'll call this last one here back up on the racetrack in turns 1 and 2 of the Charlotte Quad Oval. He's going to get rolling off at turn number 2, down into the backstretch for a very hard braking zone. Onto the brakes hard as Benjamin D going to make a quick left, right, left, back to the racetrack for turns 3 and 4. Pretty perfectly there, Sean, as he's going to come around. One more set of chicanes after turns 3 and 4 here. We'll start braking right about the start of the pit wall. And the final 2 corners, and Benjamin D claims the Roval Roundup 170 here in the iVCS.
What a great race for Benjamin D and for Zach York. So definitely Grayson Sullivan is smiling right now. His flying arrows came in 1-2.
Can't ask for anything better. I mean, if you're on a 2-car team, if you're a 3-4 car team, you want your guys to finish back to back at the top of the scoreboard, and that's exactly what happened here tonight.
Just a great race for both of them, and I know I've said that a few times. Timothy Latham back here in 3rd position. Disappointment for him, just really one big mistake, and not sure if it was really his mistake or Zach York's, but regardless, tough race for him. He will take it back into the garage and allow Benjamin D to have his moment out here on the track as he comes around. And I'm sure he will burn it to the ground here in just a second. Just kind of looking at the standings here, looking at the end results of this race, I'm not sure anybody snuck their way into the playoffs that wasn't already there, Brandon.
Yeah, I think it was just about, to be expected. I was totally hoping and watching that Benjamin D was going to celebrate the Mid-South Madness way, but it doesn't look like he's going to. He's going to stop and he's going to burn it down. But just as you were saying, if you weren't already in the playoffs, it wasn't a great night for you to capitalize on getting into the playoffs. So our round of 8, going to be pretty much, or I guess it would be the round of 4, going to be pretty much what we expected coming in with the guys in red staying red.
And his teammate Zach York out there burning it down with him. Just having a great time out there on the track. So both of them into the round of 8. Now, really quick before we get into the interviews, Brandon, so a lot of people are wondering what the Mid-South Madness way is. There is a lip going into the heartburn turn that you can kind of launch yourself and actually go over the wall. And so that is what was going on in another league where after the race, they hit that lip as hard as they could, tried to clear that wall. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't.
Yeah, it just angles the front of that race car enough to get it sailing through the air, and we found a lot of fun in trying to see who could clear it and make it the furthest. Benjamin decided he wanted to. Actually, it looks like Zach might be a little bit more excited about his finish than Benjamin was.
Well, let's start off these interviews, Brandon. Let's see if we can't get Timothy Latham in here with his 3rd place finish. Let me see if I can grab him really quickly so we can talk to him just a little bit. Timothy Latham, Sean, and Brandon up in the booth. How's it going, man?
Could be better.
Yeah, we saw, the only mistake that was made, and not sure it was even your mistake, but still, great race nonetheless. You had that car on lock for most of the time out there.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad to get a podium, bring the race into the Apollo Chevy to 3rd place there. I was really hoping we could battle with those guys at the end, but just unfortunate what happened out there. Just Zach sent it in on me, and I got turned. But yeah, glad to be third, and know I advanced already, so didn't really have anything to lose tonight.
Well, I'm going to hit you with a double question, and I'll pass it back to Sean to round out your interview. The first question I have, we talked actually last night, and you said you were pretty confident about Kansas, Texas, Martinsville, the next round, and I'm not sure the order that they're in. I think it's Kansas, then Texas, then Martinsville.
That's correct.
Either way. You're confident in that round. Are you going to just try to make the championship four, or, with the frustration of the playoffs and being winless, are you trying to win all three of them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to go out there and try to win every race we can, but in all fairness, I am just trying to get to the championship four at this point, and hopefully battle for a championship there. But we just gotta quit making mistakes, and we gotta quit being around other people that make mistakes themselves. So, but yeah, I do feel pretty good about Kansas and Texas, especially. I know we won Kansas earlier in the year, and Texas we were in a good position to win until an incident happened there. Martinsville, I think I finished either 4th or 6th there earlier in the season. So, pretty good set of tracks for me these coming weeks, and obviously Phoenix. So, hopefully we can go out there and win a few more races.
Yeah, and I certainly hope so. Definitely some strong tracks for you. And, of course, we remember what happened the last time we went to Phoenix. The final part of my question for you, are we going to see next week, the round of 8, the great bubblegum car come to life?
Yeah, I plan on. Thank you for putting out the secret there. Yeah, I've been working on the bubblegum car, so we'll run that next week at Kansas, and hopefully you can put that one in victory lane.
Well, I was actually going to go the same place, Brandon, because a little bit earlier today, Timothy Latham put me onto these Raise energy drinks, which is his sponsor on his car, and I was going to ask him, I'm about to put in my order, buddy, so what is the best flavor?
My favorite flavor is probably Baja Lime. But they do have a variety pack that you can get 4 different flavors in each box. So, yeah, my favorite's Baja Lime. I'm drinking an Apollo right now to match the car. So, a lot of good flavors. I haven't found a flavor I don't like. So, they're all good to me.
Well, you can go on to www.repsports.com. That is REPP sports.com. Use the code TIMTATION, TIMTATION, and you will get 15% off your order. So Raise Energy. Anybody else you want to give a shout out to, since I just did it for you, buddy?
Well, I appreciate you doing that. You guys were putting us on through the playoffs and the last race at Daytona, and we'll try to get them next week. Put on a good show for you.
All right, buddy. Well, we will let you get right back to it. We will see you next week at Kansas.
All righty. Appreciate it.
All right, Brandon, let's see if we can't get Zach York in here and kind of get his side of the story maybe a little bit. So let's get down to the flying arrows and bring them into the broadcast booth so we can have a little chat. So Zach York in that number 49 car, buddy, welcome back. You are in the round of 8 now, so congratulations on a second place finish. Take us through what happened to get you to second place.
Honestly, just about being in rhythm, being consistent, not spinning out, and pitting at the right time. I feel like that last stint we had the faster pace with the newer tires. Just got caught up in the beginning with a lot of wrecks and a lot of people just swiping out, along with myself at one point. I think we had a little bit of engine damage, a little bit of aero damage, pretty much damage everywhere. Our car looked like a meatball. But the number 49 Flying Arrows MCM Ford Mustang was very fast. In the end, especially, I was surprised with our pace that we had. As the night kept going, I got stronger and stronger. My lap time just kept going up. And by the end of the race, we were looking to contend for the lead, just made a few mistakes, pushing it a little too much. And I think if I didn't do that, we would have had a shot at the lead. But Ben did all he can, and he deserved this win today.
Yeah, and first of all, congratulations on the second place finish, Zach. My question, you had a strong season, and from the moment that I started watching, the only race that I've missed, and I haven't missed a race after, watching a rebroadcast. You've had a very, very strong, regular season. Stepped away from the car briefly for college, but you came back and seemingly picked up there for a while where you left off, and some technical difficulties got you sidelined, buddy. What's it been like to battle through, stepping away, coming back, and trying to stay alive in the playoffs?
It's been very challenging just being busy with school and not keeping up on work and making sure I'm not only excelling on the track but also at school. It's just about putting time aside for work both here and there. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It's very busy, keeping me busy. It's fun though. Really enjoyed it. We had a really strong second round. I was really surprised, honestly. I felt very fast every week. It felt like I could contend. Just like last week or last round, but we couldn't really get the results that last round. I feel like if we carry this momentum that we're on right now, I'm sure you'll see flying arrows 97 and 49 in the championship 4.
Well, we're looking at the schedule. So Kansas, Texas, Martinsville, all coming up. And we've got 2 flying arrows in that top 8. And so, big 1-2 finish for you guys. What can you guys do on Kansas and Texas being mile and a half ovals? What can you do with those?
Honestly, for everyone that's in the field, I feel like we could have won with everyone. If we had the field that we had today, I would have probably won in the spring Texas race. It was like a last lap pass, I think, by Witherspoon to take the win from me. I led most of the laps. I think we can win at Martinsville as well as Texas. I feel like I can win there. Kansas, we struggled a little bit with the set. Didn't have things right last time at Kansas. But I think coming to Kansas this week, I think we'll have a new approach, and I think we'll figure something out, especially Grayson and like Carry Media and all Flying Air sponsors back at the shop. I think we can get a good set together for this coming weekend.
Well, so looking forward just a little bit, the most important question of the night. If it comes down to you and Benjamin D side by side at Phoenix at the checkered flag, who's going to pull ahead?
It depends on who's behind who. If I'm behind Ben, I'll make the move on him to take. I'll try and give him a bump and run or trying to wreck him. If it's for the championship, especially if it's for the championship, I would do anything to win.
Hey,
I'm bred for competition. Yeah, I'm bred for competition. I love competing. I love racing Ben. Like, if I got to Ben there today, I probably would have tried to bump him, or like I would have tried to do to Tim earlier in the race. But if it comes to racing against teammates, I want what's best for him, and like as long as we're both in the final championship 4, that's all that matters for me. And us 2 competing for the championship, that would be awesome.
Well, buddy, your journey begins next week at Kansas, so we will see you then.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, buddy, take care.
Yep, you too.
All right, we will drop him back down to his chat, and then we will pull up Benjamin D with a huge win today. Let's see if we can grab him, Brandon. Pull him into the booth. Benjamin D, man, what a great race for you. Great stage win the first time around. Dropped back a little bit in the second stage, but then dominated that third stage. Tell us what happened out there. How did you do that?
I don't know. I went in. I was so busy this week. My first laps at the Roval were an open practice at 8 p.m. I went in going, I didn't know the setup. I didn't know the track that well. I barely knew how everything was going to handle, and somehow I managed to pull off a win, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, and first of all, congratulations. Excellent show you put on there. I was hoping we'd see a top 3 charge amongst you, Zach, and Timothy. They got together a little bit, but my question, what's it like now? You came into this race. Now, this was the final race of this round. You came into this race as the last guy in, but you're leaving this race with the most momentum. What's it like heading into, Kansas, Texas, Martinsville, carrying all the momentum in the world?
Oh, it's great. I knew a road course. I know in this league, that's where I can make up a lot of my ground. I'm glad, this was the last race because I know I'm strong on a road course. I know I can get it done. And it's good to have this momentum, just you never know what can happen, especially at like Martinsville or something. You never know what's going to happen. So carrying this momentum is really, really, really good for me. It's going to help me out, definitely.
So, buddy, we're looking at the schedule, and so we're pulling that up and just kind of going through these races. So, you've got Kansas, Texas, Martinsville, and your teammate is into the final 8 as well. So what do you got left?
Lots of hard work. That's what we have left. Same hard work we put in every week to get these cars ready for Friday night. Especially the mile and a halves, like Kansas. Those are a lot of setup work. Contrary to what most people think, it is a lot of setup work to get that car acting just right. So it's gonna be hard work to keep going, but hard work will pay off.
Absolutely, it will, man. So, buddy, and I asked your teammate this just a few seconds ago, so I'm going to ask you the same exact question, and so forgive me for this, but it's kind of one of those fun questions. So, if it comes down to the last lap, and it's just you and him side by side, and we're talking last lap of Phoenix, what do you have to do to beat him?
I have to do what I can to win. And I'd expect him to say the same thing. We're teammates, but we race. I don't know if he told you this, but right before we pitted during the green flag, I asked him, "Hey, what lap are we pitting?" He says, "I'm not going to tell you. We're racing for the lead." That's how we race. And I was like, "Okay, that's fair. I'll roll with that." But yeah, it's we're teammates, but we're also racers. We're going to race for position, and if it comes down to that last lap, we're going to do what it takes to win. I know he would do that, and I'm going to do that as well.
Man, that is excellent. And that's just good teammates. That's what good teammates are all about. But is there anybody that you'd like to thank before we move on to Kansas?
I always got to thank Grayson. He's always putting in the hard work for us. Wasn't able to be here tonight, but he was watching the entire race, and he came in very, very happy into our channel. So got to thank him. I got to thank my grandparents always, because they're always watching this. It makes me so happy that they get to watch these. They enjoy them so much. They love you guys. They say you're great broadcasters. So I'll give you guys a pat on the shoulder too.
I like them already.
I've got to ask. I think it's Claudel, right? Is that your grandpa?
That's my dad.
Oh, that's your dad. Okay.
Claudel is my dad. Yeah.
I see him out in the chat all the time saying "Go Ben." So encourage your grandparents to interact more. We love hearing from family as we broadcast, and I know as well as John appreciate the comment about being good broadcasters.
Yeah, and I don't know if she's still listening. I got to thank my girlfriend because she's always listening to these.
Yeah, you better do that. You better do that.
I got to thank her because she's always listening to these, cheering me on. So I got to thank her. But this was a phenomenal race. I'm proud of myself, and it's good momentum mentally to go into Sunday. That's when I have my karting race. That's my real life racing.
Man, that's awesome. Buddy, have a great week this week. I mean, enjoy this, live it up. We can't wait to see what you guys do in the next round.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Have a great night.
All right, you too.
You too, buddy. Congrats.
Thank you.
I know we just dropped him back down. I think that was his girlfriend there in the chat saying, "I'm right here."
That's right. That's exactly who that was. So, man, excellent timing on her part. Man, what a fun race tonight. Now, we got to talk. Actually, first, let's jump back out because we didn't do this. So let's jump back out and take a look at the standings or at the finish line. So Benjamin D with the win, Zach York in second, Timothy Latham third, Dakota Jorgensen in fourth.
Fifth place was Greg Edney. Sixth place, Chad Gettingsman. Seventh, Kendall Levron. And eighth place, Richard Springer.
Justin Boyles in ninth, PJ Engelkins in 10th, Philip Loy 11th, Oskar Jensen in 12th.
Ted Poulin 13th, and Jordan Saylor's going to round out the field in the 14th spot.
All right, well, next week we are heading off to Kansas for the Tricky Tornado 285. So this is playoff week number 7. We are finally into the round of 8. This is where it gets even more serious, Brandon.
Yeah, and honestly, this is a track where I remember, and I won't go into too many details, I remember who won Kansas the last time around. Had a interesting setup under the hood of that car. Timothy Latham drove that car to victory lane, so we'll see more of the same. Timothy put on a show the last time we were at Kansas, but much like Phoenix, a lot has changed. The competition in the league has changed, and it's crunch time now. So a typical mile and a half, Kansas probably one of my top 2 favorite 1.5 miles. A really easy track to drive, Sean, but the smallest mistake will get you into trouble quick.
Yes, it will. So we will see everybody next week. For myself, Sean Griffith, and Brandon Superman Brand Browning, we will leave you with this nice burnout by the Flying Arrows. Just having a great time out there on the track. Everyone have a fantastic week. We will see you next week at Kansas for the Tricky Tornado 285.